Welcome everyone to this special edition of the Town End podcast. We have a very special show tonight. It's the First Division winners 2008. We've loaded guests on from the winning team, manager, players, captain, the whole lot. We've everyone involved. So joining us straight off the bat, Dean Arrowsmith. Welcome, Dean.
How's it going, Steph? How are you, pal? How'd you enjoy doing that intro?
Yeah. Look, sure. You just sprung it on me. You had about 5 seconds to go, which was fantastic. But look, you know me, constant professional.
Exactly.
Tried to keep the swear words out of it. So I think I've done all right. Obviously, we don't have Chris Clark with us. Well, he said he might be able to join in later on, will he?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. So, look, if we someone else waiting in the background, or are we just going to go straight off?
Yeah, we do indeed. I suppose before we start, obviously, the beginning of Dundalk FC's success over the last year was probably down to the promotion in 2008. So I think as a podcast, we've seen this as a good opportunity to pay our respects to a team that probably never got the send off they deserve. So hopefully tonight, we'll have a bit of crack during it. Hopefully there'll be a load of stories about Steph during his time at the club. And we'll see how it all goes. But yeah, without further ado, so you might remember during 2008 there was a short documentary came out for the promotion, and it was done by a Dundalk superfan and a friend of the show who's been on before, Mr. David Lennon. David, how's it going, brother?
Gentlemen, how are we?
Good. How are you?
Thanks for having me back on. Jesus, I'm on for the hat trick now.
Listen, Donald Hanks is getting worried. He wants to get the hat-trick first, so there's pressure on him now after tonight.
Well, hopefully I can get the boot in the back of the net first.
It's great to have you back on.
Thanks for having me.
No worries.
Brilliant. Well, just before we get your thoughts on that season, David, if anybody would like the opportunity to win one of these beautiful Dundalk Town End quarter zips, all you have to do, Steph's not wearing his today, Jerry Waters is looking for that jersey back. All you have to do is comment in your favourite memories from the 2008 season, and Steph is going to pick the best memory at the end of the show. All right, so no pressure on that one, Steph. I just put you under pressure tonight.
Look, a famous saying, pressure's for tires.
So anyway, look at No, we'll kick on with the show anyway. So, David, can you give us kind of any thought or memories you had of way back when in 2008?
Absolutely. No, but I'll only do it if I can be included in the competition for this quarter zip, lads. Now you know the crack.
look, I'll take note and see how you get on.
There's Gally now.
Sorry, lads.
That's all right. My memories of it. Well. Oh man, what a year it was. I was in DKIT at the time, and I was doing a degree in cultural studies, but film studies was a part of the modules. And there was a segment within the course, creative documentary filmmaking. And everyone had to come up with this idea of pitching an idea for a documentary, and the best 4 or 5 got picked, and then there was people that were in the class then got to kind of pick what part of the document or whose documentary they wanted to be part of in the production side of things or whatever. So obviously, I mean, I was going to the games anyway, and I figured what better thing to do would be to document it on the off chance that we might go up. Now, bearing in mind, prior to that, as Maxie says, getting out of jail. But in the off chance that we were going to go up, 2002 we were relegated. I was 14 years of age, so most of my adulthood or childhood or whatever way you want to look at it was First Division, and it was painful, lads. But as all of you know, but to cut a long story short, anyway, I pitched the idea. The idea was that I was going to be a character, that the cameras were going to follow me around, and it was sort of going to be footage of the game, and then the fan and all that sort of stuff. And but it didn't transpire that way, unfortunately, because for a start we had 2 games away from home. The first game was in Waterford in the RSC, and I ended up being cameraman because the production crew or the other students in the class weren't able to make the trip. So therefore I couldn't obviously film myself celebrating or whatever. So I got on the side of the pitch with the late great Mick Slevin, and got to see some of the action up close. And I remember at half time there was a bit of a raucous shall we say disagreement between players and fans, players and backroom teams from both sides. And I'd love to hear the players' memories of it, but the guards later on contacted me and they wanted to see the footage to make sure there was nothing criminal going on and all this sort of stuff. But we scored a winner. I think it was Paul Smith scored the winner with about a minute to go. And sort of at that point, we're kind of thinking, this is in the bag. Like, we're going to have a great documentary. I was thinking Oscars, or thinking this is going to just clean up. Like, but so the next thing was we had the next 2 games then were real. The first one was Limerick 37 on Halloween night. Actually, it was the day before Halloween, but it felt like Halloween because we were beaten. And you were thinking all the good work you'd done the night before went out the window. And I remember just being absolutely gutted. But then, and of course, Shelburne were in the background chipping away. And like, we were running away with the league earlier in the year, but for whatever reason, we just went on a bit of a slump, and Shelburne and Waterford, ironically, but the fact that we beat them in that first game, it kind of put their challenge to bed. But Shelburne kept chipping away in the background, kept winning, and all of a sudden they were top by a point, and the heat was a bit intense. We had our last home game of the season was at Lone Town. And I remember interviewing John Flanagan and David Crawley and Paul Johnston beforehand. And there was a real sense of the players were hungry. Like, we anticipated that we were going to win that game, and we ended up thumping them 7-0. And it left things on a knife edge then for that infamous night in mid-November. And the rest is history. It was... it was unreal. And I often wonder, in hindsight, modern day fans now have flash score and live score, and everything's instant. That there's no real need to be listening to the game in one ear and watching your own game with your eyes. But in this time, I remember at one point during the game we were 1 or 2-0 up in the last game, and the crowd went mental, and we must have took I don't know 2,000 or 3,000 to Station Road that night, and literally it was just like we had won the league. The game wasn't even over. We were 2-0 up, so we were pretty much cruising, but it felt like obviously Limerick had scored in Tolka Park, or somebody thought they heard that Limerick had scored in Tolka Park, but in hindsight it was the other way around. Shelburne had scored, so we all of a sudden there was just this pandemonium of people going, well, what's really going on? And you lose all that now. You don't get that with the live scores and the Twitters and stuff, because everything's so instant. But it was a crazy night, and I interviewed Dermot Ahern that night, and Danny O'Connell, and a load of people, but just before the game, because we kind of went down in I suppose hope and prayer rather than the expectation of winning, because we genuinely couldn't see Limerick doing the business in Tolka. And then we ended up tonking Kildare that night, but Shelbourne were winning, and it was all going to be for nothing until our friend Colin Scanlon popped up, and the rest is history.
A Dundalk legend that never actually got to play with Dundalk, right?
Absolutely. I remember after trying to reach out to him to see if he'd come on, that I could finish it with an interview with him or whatever. But he was afraid to come up in case he'd be, just overwhelmed by everybody buying him drinks and stuff like that. It was the weirdest complaint I've ever heard in my life.
No, it's brilliant. And that documentary, I tell you what, as I say, if there's ever proof that time of the year or that time in the club's history is what kind of ignited a lot of the success we've had since, I think you'd go back and give that a watch. That night was just unbelievable, and that time. Well, look, we'll move on. We'll bring in some of Steph's mates. Hello, Gally, by the way, for coming in. We'll bring on a couple of Steph's mates from the team. We'll bring in the gaffer himself. So we'll start with John Gill. We'll get Flano. Aidan Lynch. How's it going, lads?
Good evening, guys. How are you?
There's the man now. There's the main man.
Gilla, you're on the boat again, are you?
Yeah, I'm on the way down. Good to see the two boys, but I've seen Flano a little bit. I haven't seen Aido in a while, but
good to see you, John. How are you? All right, Flano.
He's going to get Maxi, is he?
Very good.
Deadly.
Steph, I know Steph has a lot of questions for you, so we'll let you start away, Steph.
No, look. Davey was just mentioning his documentary, and look, he was down in Waterford that night. I think Benno kicked off a bit of eruptions at halftime coming into the tunnel, and sure, everyone piled in. That I suppose that was the sort of traits we had as a team. We were all in it together. If someone was in trouble, we sort of tried to dig each other out, and if one went to war, we all followed in behind. Like so, what do you think of that, Edo? Like, as a
absolutely.
captain?
Well, I think Benno was just fighting himself, probably, though, was he? We were trying to protect Benno from himself. No, you're right. It was a good bunch of lads that were there, and I suppose we were probably on the go at that stage for nearly 3 years. It was kind of the third season of it, and we gelled, and we had a great group. And you're right, people did look out for each other, and they did back each other on the pitch. And I suppose we had come so close the previous 2 years. I mean, 1 year we won a playoff, and we didn't get promoted. The following year we weren't too far behind. Again, I think the following year Rovers won it, I think. Was it that right? I think we're right in that. And we had matched them, and we were very close to Pip and them at the time, and I suppose we felt it was our time. But right, it was a great bunch of lads, good team, and we eventually got over the line.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Flano, what do you think? Like that Waterford game, and leading up to that as well, Limerick at Lone, like the sort of running.
Yeah, I suppose when we come to the end, we were probably favourites coming to the end, and we threw it away on our own. We let ourselves down in that game coming near the end. But I mean, I remember Gilla getting us together and saying, "Listen, lads, all we can do now is look after our own business. Okay, all we can do now is go out, win every game we can, and hopefully something will look after itself." And in fairness, the last two games, I think we won 13-1 in aggregate. It add up to 2 games. It was phenomenal. We let the shit out of them, to be fair.
Yeah.
But we left ourselves a mountain to climb, which we should never have done in the first place. But I suppose David's documentary wouldn't have been half as good if we had to just beat everybody and coasted to victory.
Thanks for that, lads. I appreciate it. It didn't do me blood pressure any good, but thanks for the documentary.
But I think that was the nature of that. I remember when we talk about it, and we nearly threw away, and we had the 2 games. I remember talking to Trevor about this one time. Trevor Vaughan, we were saying, look, and saying to lads in the dressing room, the league is mad in Ireland because crazy things can happen. And if we win the last 2 games, you never know, because I mean, we know of other times when Pats have won in the last day of the season, and I think Dundalk beat them. Was it Dundalk beat Pats or Dundalk beat Shells a couple of years before that, and somebody won a league coming out of nowhere? And it was always, I think that was always an element of League of Ireland at the time. Anything could happen right up to the very end until there was actually one, and we were conscious of that. And like Flano said, we just made things difficult for ourselves. But those last 2 games, we did what we had to do, and we got a bit of luck on the other side. But I do remember when we lost to Limerick. The Limerick lads, Saints was, we were all disgusted obviously, and the Limerick lads, Saints was coming off the pitch. Don't worry, fellas, we'll do you a favour as well. There was one or two of them saying that was like they did a job on us that night. All right, we weren't at it, but they said, look, don't worry, we'll go to shelves and we'll put in a shift there, and they did. In fairness, they didn't have to, but they really did, and they went all the way.
Yeah, it was magic down there in Kildare. Just going back to it, Gillo, I suppose we were in a bit of a crisis at the time when we lost to Limerick, and we didn't know what was going to happen, and you brought in a sports psychologist to have a wee chat with us to perk us up a little bit. I don't know if he's still there, is he? He's frozen.
It's gone and soft focus.
Yeah, he's
overawed by the situation.
He doesn't want to talk about it. Flano, what do you think?
That was when Enda came in.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I remember Enda came in, and in fairness to Giller, it was probably the first time that I've ever experienced it as a club. And that's one thing about John. He was probably a little bit ahead of his time, especially for a first division club. He didn't leave any stone unturned. I mean, simple things that Giller brought the ice bats into Dundalk. He brought food in for after training and a cup of tea before training. I mean, everything he did was really, really well done. And I remember when McNulty came in, and I think myself and Ado especially, probably been from the two teachers, I found him brilliant.
Yeah.
I think maybe some of the younger lads, he was a bit lost on them maybe. But the one thing I remember taking away from that whole morning was that it was all about us as players, and if we want to do anything, we have to drive it from within. That he started off asking questions of whose fault is this and what do you think, and everyone's answers always are the manager or picking teams or training, and then he turned it all around that the focus has to come and the drive has to come from the group of players, and we have to drive it. And I remember that was the one thing I took from it. He told us stories obviously about Munster Rugby and Armagh, about how players drove it and set standards, and the management just literally set you up, put you out, and then the players drove it home. But I thought he was brilliant, to be fair, and I think it gave some of us maybe an extra sport. But like the Steph, you young fellas now, you just thought it was great crack. You didn't know what was going on. There's too many big words.
Yeah, look,
the diagrams and stuff like that really confused them.
What diagrams? No, look, we just looked up to the senior players, and like anything news done, we tried to follow suit, and it was just a privilege to be in the dressing room with like Ado, like Flano, Trev, like some of the lads, top class professionals, and like we basically had a Premier Division side in the first division, like, and I know we are favourites to win it, but like as everyone knows, it's so hard to get out of the division. So many teams find it so difficult to get out. So serious achievement, and it's probably still the best achievement of my career. The little part I played in it, like so.
It's not so everybody. You're right. Everybody played a part in it.
Yeah,
It wasn't one individual or two individuals. It was that team effort and working and training and everything else. There was not one or two people who were the shining lights and getting everything. It was the team. It really was. And I think when you talk about Enda McNulty coming in, I think that was the element that he really spoke about. It is the team, and it was the team that has to drive it, And you talk about the Waterford game and stuff like that, and I remember going a bit mad myself in the dressing room with that before the game and saying, "This is it, guys. We really can't afford to do anything here. We got to get out and got to perform, and don't let ourselves down." And look, and we put it right on that night. But it was, I think, it was a culmination of a couple of years. I know there was a few new players came in that season, but the core of the team had been there for the guts of 3 years, really, and we didn't, certainly for me, and I'm sure that was the same, we didn't want to be the nearly men again, I know it was hard, but like I said, one year we won a playoff, the following year we should have, I think we should have won the league the following year, where we kept pushing it, we just fell short again, but we really felt we had to do it right and get it over the line, and look, we did in the end.
Was there a belief that you would, lads? Did you feel that Limerick would do you the favour, or was it really a sort of let's just hope for the best?
I suppose if you think about it, like, as Giller, honestly, all we could do was look after our own business. All we could do was win our own games. I mean, as Ado said, I remember the boys coming off, and we were probably at our lowest time against Limerick coming on the field, and we were told, "No, we give this a right goal, lads. We're not going to put it in." If we didn't believe we had it in us, we wouldn't have put in those two performances the last two games of the season.
We got the McNulty in, John.
Yeah, we got that. Were you teleported somewhere?
Do you remember we got Enda McNulty in for the night? Got Enda McNulty into the group just after the one night.
Yeah, no, yeah. We were saying that Enda was brilliant.
We got Enda McNulty, and I just felt we needed to do something different. But back to, I think I cost us well. If you remember, lads, I left a lot of the senior players out. We were playing on a Friday and a Monday. Wexford. Yeah. It was, well, it was just something different, but I should have played probably Edo yourself, but I was trying to keep you fresh again against Fingal on the Monday, if you remember, and I probably took my eye on the ball. Wexford thought we'd be handy enough to beat, and we weren't. We got turned over 3-1, and that was devastating to me. I remember going back in the bus and saying, I'm after fucking blowing it here. I was too cocky, should have just played my best team, but I was trying to keep us fresh, because Fingal were full-time at the time. They were coming into it, they were full-time training, but it worked out well. We beat Fingal well that night.
You should have rested Flano that night, Giller, against Wexford.
Can you hear me, boys?
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah. You should have played me then.
Roger on the next time, yeah.
No, we'll go back to what you said, Steph, a minute ago. I mean, playing bit part. I said this on the podcast a few weeks ago. There was a huge amount of, like yourself and Grimes and Simon Kelly. And it was a great group there, and they drove it standards of training.
He's
That was on a loop, is he?
He's jumping over on you. Yeah. Go on, Flano.
No, I said. I mean, we all, as Ado said, it was a whole squad. I mean, it wasn't just any superstar, any standard individuals that year. It was brilliant. Like training matches were as tough as league matches, and I mean, all you had the likes of you. Crawley had Grimes behind him, Ada with Simon Kelly. Everyone had someone pushing them. There was no one guaranteed week to week going to play. So the standards was set in training, and that was full squad effort.
Yeah, I agree totally, Flano. But I mean, you drove it on. The senior players drove group on. The likes of Ado, yourself, Trevor Vaughan, Benno. There was a great core. David Crawley here as well. We did a really good core of good, experienced players who weren't phased. Like it was the younger players more I was worried about. The likes of Kieran was in and out the side. You know, you had the likes of young. We had a lot of young lads in the group that year as well. And I think you settled it down. I know the last 5 games. It was we lost to Limerick. I think it was Jamie Duffy gave away a goal. I don't think he played the last 4 games. He gave away a bad goal and they got beaten 1-0. I think you remember it. And I'd actually told him, you know, the habit of turning back inside with the ball, and he got dispossessed that night. We got done 1-0. I was fucking fuming after the game. Had a go with him, he answered back. He didn't play again that season. I think Ian Ryan was another one that hung his brains up in a game, and he didn't play the last 5 games. So the senior players were the ones that, you know, definitely got us over the line at the end.
It's all coming back to me now.
I think Jamie Duffy and Rhino were put into the departure lounge, were they?
Well, they were, because Rhino was having a bad time. Rhino was doing well for us, but he was having a bad time. And I left him out. He threw his toys out with the pram. You'll see what it's like now on the other side of the fence. He's a manager now. But Jamie, the definition of insanity is you keep doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. And I had warned Jamie, do not turn back inside the ball. He throws back inside, bang, 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 goal. And it just killed us tonight. If that was it, we made life hard for ourselves. But you know what? Winning it the way we did, I think made it all the more special.
Yeah, I think you put Castle on the right for the last 2 games, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Castle was brilliant for us. He was another great. What a little player he was. I mean, he was a player who went on to have a really good career after that. He was a really, really good player. Yeah, Castle moved to the right. We grounded out in the end. But again, I go back to, it was about the senior players holding the nerve, just gathering themselves. It was out of our control. We had to go into our business. But you know what? You don't win it. I've said this before, because some Dundalk players or some of the supporters have said that we were lucky. You don't be lucky winning the league over 36 games. As they don't said, and kind of alluded to it as well. We had 3 years where we were nearly over the line every year. We should have got over the line in the first year. We were robbed. The second year we were beaten in the playoffs. The injuries killed us that year actually as well. We lost a lot of crucial players with injuries. And then the third year, okay, we won it. We got over the line in the last minute of the last game. But we had done our work throughout that season. We were excellent team. So you don't get lucky winning the league. You've got to win. You win the league because you're entitled to win it. You've done your work to win it.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And you're right. We did it, and it was some occasion, all right, that night. It certainly was.
Well,
the fans had travelled.
The only regret I have is not going back to Oriel. Well, the only regret I have is that they should have gone back to Oriel, which is enjoyed it. I didn't. I know I brought all the squad into the bar after with the families, and we had a couple of drinks there, but I knew that I'd gone anyway. Head was on the chop block, my arse was out the window, so I just didn't want to go back and speak to people who were. If you remember the meeting, do you remember they wanted to speak to the players with about 5 games to go, Ado? John, do you remember that?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Totally unwind.
Yeah. No, I remember 100%. That. Yeah.
And I knew.
I didn't go back over either.
I knew it was and in fairness. I think it was Ado stood up at the meeting. I didn't go to that meeting. They met us after training because I wouldn't let them meet us before training. Because we had a game against Fingal on the Monday. This was on Sunday morning. I think Ado got up. What I gather is and said to them, "Listen, where's this from?" And they wouldn't say where it was coming from. And I think you, Ado, with the squad, you just walked out of the room. We got on with it, won the next night. I had challenged them about.
Yeah, they were talking about why you're not winning, and I challenged them on it. I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "We lost a game. That's football. But what you should be winning that game." I said, well, "That's football. That's life, and it's not over." I remember that.
Was the quote, Ado? How can you lose to them? We're paying more wages than they are.
Yeah. That's what
exactly.
He said. He said that.
And said, "Hull bet Arsenal last week. That week."
I remember challenging him on that, and he kind of went, well, and I said, "Well, that's football." I said, and I think. And I don't know, at the time, I think before they came in, I think myself or Flannel, maybe one or two others, we had said, "Look, fellas, we're in this together. We're not hanging anybody out to dry." I think they thought they were going to come in and we were going to start hanging people out to dry. And look, it's that fault, that person's fault. And we were sure, hell, not going to do that to anybody. We said, "Look, we're in this together. And look, we don't know what you want from us. We're going out to play. We're going out to win every week. We don't lose on purpose. Show me a footballer who wants to lose on purpose." And we put it straight to him. I think they were taken a bit back by it, weren't they, Flannel?
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, Gilla, you know, he was a good businessman. He's a good fella for the club, but he wasn't a football man. He didn't understand the intricacies of football. I mean, we were trying to explain to him in that meeting that on any given day, anyone can win a game of football. Just because you're paying X and they're paying Y does not guarantee you victory. That's just not the way football works, and he didn't seem to get that.
No,
but I think he was being influenced. There was a couple of directors, John, in his ear, and I know who they were, and that's why they were the two people that I had the issue with. They were trying to get you to be under the bus, basically. That's what they were trying to do. And listen, I'd always be internally grateful that the players didn't. I know every player wasn't happy in that group. You can't keep everybody happy. But the majority of players, there was a great camaraderie within the group. Whether I was managing or fucking Mickey Mouse was managing, there was a good group there who were very self-driven. I had very, very little to do with it. I got the group together, but the group drove themselves on. I thought it was an insult to ask. Even to ask is like, how come it's a team of amateurs? Like, we went out. Why didn't we say on the Monday when we went out and beat a professional team on the Monday and beat them well? You know, didn't ask the same questions. So, as you said, sometimes when you have directors, it's a little bit like Dundalk now, Flannel, where you have directors who probably don't know a lot about football, in my view, and that happens.
Yeah. It's not straightforward black and white business that they don't understand.
I think the best thing about the squad was that we all stuck together, and like Giller said before, we took the lead off Ado, Flannel, Benno, Davy Crawley, and there was no bad eggs in the group. Like everyone was in together. We were all going the same direction, and that's probably what got us across the line in the end.
Absolutely, yeah, totally.
Yeah. Again, I'm not just saying. I used to speak to the senior players a lot. I know I spoke to Ado a lot, and I would pick their brains and say, listen, sometimes I'd give the lads a weekend off if I felt they needed it. I'd say to the lads, because Ado and John were captain and vice captain, listen, thinking maybe giving the lads a weekend off. And invariably, we didn't do it, but we did it, and we kind of helped each other. It was me listening off them. They were a good gauge for me about when the lads tired, because people forget it was the first time in Dundalk's history that Dublin lads made it up to Dundalk for 3 years in a row training. None of those lads made it up every week from Dublin, trained. And I did certain players I didn't sign when I started there because in fairness to Ed, and I think the car pools that used to come up used to make the groups as well. And then little Jerry Waters, huge part of it as well. Yeah. But we enjoyed being up in Oriel. The lads enjoyed being there. It was a very professional environment. I'm not just saying it. We had training gear ready. We tried to make it as professional as we could because I knew the lads were massive commitment to come up to Dundalk 3 times a week. And they reap the rewards. And I'm a great believer that if you're good to the game and you treat it right, you get treated right back. And I have to say, it was the most enjoyable 3 years of my career. Mainly down to the group of people that were there, because they say you can have all the good footballers you want, but you need good people, and there was good people in that group.
John, do you mind if I ask you, what was going through your head in the last 5 minutes of the game in Station Road that night?
To be honest with you, I was getting dogs abuse. To be honest, I was getting dogs abuse.
How do I get out of here?
Yeah,
that was only me.
I was after having a knee operation, so I was a pretty bad way, and it was a tough year again. I'd only lost my father as well. It was a really tough time. But I remember when the final whistle went, 2 security men lifted me up, and the crowd. I didn't know that the crowd had heard that Shels had scored. I actually thought they were coming on to rip me limb from limb, and I actually went into the dressing room and was actually there. The Hearn came into the dressing room, and he broke it. He said, "You won't believe it, Shels have scored." And I said, "What?" Said Shels has scored it. And the lads start kind of drifting in, and the lads will tell you those few minutes that we had in the dressing room after that league win were just special. It was a special time.
Amazing.
I remember coming in, Steph. I came in literally in me jocks. I didn't get off the field. Boots, shin pads, jersey, everything was reefed off me on the way in. I arrived in a pair of jocks. I think I was blessed to come in with fucking contact lenses in.
I think Davey English done a number on you, and then he took my tracksuit and Oriel. I went home with a pair of boxers and a pair of socks.
I remember asking Jerry Waters for a jersey, and he said, "They're all gone, fella. They're all gone, fella." I was looking for a jersey that night. All gone.
Well, when you think about it, that's like, obviously we were, but think about the number of people that travelled from Dundalk that night. They didn't travel there because they thought we weren't going to win the league. They were travelling there with hope as well. You know, that type of way, that's thinking, like, we're going to go here. And they got the rewards as well of a hell of a celebration. And I think Kildare made the most money they ever made in a bar ever.
They travelled everywhere. It was phenomenal.
Yeah. A funny story just before we let you off, lads. So even some people don't even know to the day. So obviously the cup was up in Tolka ready for Shels to lift it. So there was a big panic station on to try and get a cup for us to lift. And so Kildare went, and I don't know, they had a cup in the background somewhere. So he ended up lifting the picture of it is Flano and Ado lifting a cup that's not even the First Division cup. So by the time it came around to me to lift it, I lifted it and the thing folded in half. And I thought, oh shit, I'm after breaking this First Division trophy. What's going on here? And one of the lads had to tell me later on then that it was only a replica of some. Yeah. So
we stopped at the Coachman's on the way home and got it from Frank Gavin at the bus on the way home to bring it up to Dundalk.
That has to be the most unusual trophy presentation.
At least you got to the Coachman's. I ended up in Kildare and so on my own.
Jesus, I went. Oh yeah, I don't know where I ended up that night, but it was a long way from home anyway. I think it was I think we were up in Dundalk too.
I think it was a weekend. Was that a weekend job? I think up there, was it?
A week?
We were there. We stayed in the club till easily 3 or 4 in the morning, I'd say it was, and then we went home. But I think it was the PFA Awards then on the Sunday or something like that. So I can't remember. Yeah. But it was a good old night, you know. Good old night.
I remember staying in Kildare, Gillo, with yourself and Gary. We stayed in the clubhouse for a few points. I had already, I decided with Gillo a few months beforehand that I was finishing. That was my last game, and
I remember that.
we had just had Derry, so I had Sinead and Derry came down, and we just sat there with Gillo at a few points. Didn't go back, and we just think we stayed in City West that night. So I missed the whole mental madness. When you hear it here,
I did as well. But probably you don't regret I have is that not getting a chance to bring most of those lads that got promoted into the Premier Division next year. When you see the circus that followed us, and in my view, it was a circus. Those lads, any of the lads that were squad. Now, I'm not saying you probably wouldn't have kept them all because that's football, but there was definitely a good core of that group that I feel would have done really well in the Premier Division. Not well, but we would have held our own. We certainly would have done as well to what the group that came after us and the shenanigans that went on when they brought in the crew that they brought in. So the players, people often say to me, you were hard done by. I'm grand. It was the players actually. Most of those players were harder done by than I was, in my view.
Yeah, that was a big disappointment. I'm not saying I would have been kept on myself, but I mean it was a disappointment for everybody involved. But it really did, like I said, it was almost a 3-year project in that sense, because it did end after that. Well, the club got promoted. That team, I'm not sure if it was any of those players kept on the following year.
I think 3 or 4.
Benno maybe.
Benno was.
Simon Kelly was kept, was he?
Yeah.
Simon Kelly. It was T was kept.
Tiernan, Simon, and Benno were definitely kept anyway. So.
Yeah.
But I don't even know. Did the rest of you even get a phone call from anybody even?
No, not at all.
I didn't.
Not at all.
No, to me that's poor. To me that's poor. But listen, that's as you said, Adrian, nothing surprises you in football. That's football. But personally speaking, I believe that every player that's been that coach should have got a phone call. They deserved at least a phone call to say, yay, nay, we're not keeping you. But there was definitely a core of the squad that I feel could have gone on. And I'm not saying I think we would have done okay the following year. I really do, with a couple of additions to the squad.
I got a phone call off Mick Cook. You got the same, Edo, did you?
I got a phone call off Don Tierney to come down and talk to Mick Cook.
Yeah. There you go.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, I'm fair. Like I don't. Maybe I did get a call, or I could have been up around. I could have bumped into somebody and they said it. I can't remember fully, but yeah, it was a strange one, all right. But yeah, then we went up to the Magic Mons.
Magic Mons. That's the next episode, Edo.
Is it?
Yeah.
The 2012 edition.
Absolutely. But as we said, it was a good time. It was a good time for everybody, and it's good to see the two lads. Haven't seen them in a long time, so.
Yeah. No, look, we really appreciate you coming on and having a chat with us.
No bother at all. Flannery, you're still training away anyway, I see.
I'm doing a bit, mate. Yeah, I'm back now this week after me operate. My appendix went a few weeks ago.
I saw that. Yeah, you're all right, are you?
Yeah. I'm a bit lighter now. I'm all right.
Oh man, did you get your accredited grades done? Did you?
Like no 6 years.
Oh jeez, what a weird year that is for you. Happy days.
Happy days.
Gillo
said Go on, John.
We must try and get the lads together again. I'd love to see that group together again, just to have a point or do something like that. And it's something I'm actually going to try and do in the next. I spoke to Steph briefly about it. It's something I am going to try and do. Definitely going to do in the next.
Oh, that'd be great, yeah.
Absolutely. That's myself, David Pingu as well, yeah.
Oh yeah. We'll invite whoever wants to come along to see who wants to turn up.
What's your point? Points? We don't mind, Gally.
Once you're buying the pints, Gillo.
No problem.
That's it.
We'll bring Colin Scanlon as well.
I'll tell you what, I've a picture of a statue of Colin Scanlon with Anthony Puttimer on his mantelpiece.
Love it. You'll have to send us on a picture, we can post it.
I say the road to at the end.
Thanks a million, lads.
Cheers, lads. Cheers for coming on.
Thanks a million, guys.
Thank you.
No, good to see you.
Hey, don't mind yourself.
Good catch up.
Nice one, man. We keep in touch.
Thanks, lads.
Keep in touch, absolutely. Cheers. Good luck.
Cheers.
Gillo, are you staying on for a little bit?
Yeah, I'll stay on, yeah. See you next week on.
Trevez wants to have a chat with you.
Yeah, now we've got three more legends coming on. We've got Trevor Vaughan, Tian Mulvanna, and David Crawley. How's it going, lads?
Hi, lads.
Hey, folks.
Gillar, you'll be used to this me coming on late like a substitution.
Who else going on, boys? Trevor, who else?
Trevin T and Davy Crawley's loading on us here.
He's on 3.
How are you, T? How's it going?
Not too bad. How are you keeping, mate?
Good.
Trevor's probably not talking to me because I didn't play him enough anyway.
You just missed my joke there, Gillar. I said, me coming in late, I'm coming in for the second half, the way you always had kept me.
Kept you fresh at the end of the game.
It was a plan.
It's method in the madness, yeah.
Some strike force there.
Gillar knew what he was doing.
One of my heroes I'm here talking to again. Himself and Philly. Learned everything.
Are they there?
3 legends.
Yeah, I don't know if Davy's coming in.
He's still loading.
Yeah, he
He's
needs to check out
from
that.
down the key. You know what I mean? Down the key. They haven't got it down there yet.
He
was
doesn't have
never the
Wi-Fi.
quickest anyway, really, was he, Crawley?
Oh,
He had it in the head, so that was the main thing, I suppose, wasn't it, Trev?
That's it, yeah. First 2 yards in your head.
Yeah, you love that one. You love that one when you're taking the piss out of us in training. No, obviously, you're back on, John. But no, look, we'd Flano and Ado. I don't know if you've heard much. They were just basically talking about the run in the season. We were talking about the Waterford game. There was nearly a bust up at half time. I think Benno caused the majority of it. Some of the Waterford lads couldn't understand him. They thought he was trying to cause a fight with them. But Trev, what do you think of the run in? Like,
No, I listened to the lads there, Flano and Aidan and Gillar. Yes, I mean, some great memories. Some of it is a bit of a blur, but certainly the last match in Kildare wasn't. But the Benno and Waterford, I don't remember that. You know, I was probably on the bench and I was probably in the dressing room before that even happened. And you probably would be right in saying no one understood Benno, so I wouldn't even say the Waterford. I'd say the Dundalk lads and the Dublin lads couldn't understand them. No, but I mean the run in the lads were saying was brilliant, and I mean it was fairy tale stuff really what happened in the end. We were leading all the way, as you know, like right through the season. So we were obviously put under a bit of pressure, which we knew was going to come. But as the boys were saying, you just never give up. You never know what's going to happen in football. And I mean, all we could do, as the old cliche goes, is all you can do is your best on the last night. All you can do is concentrate on your match, and whatever happened in Talca Park was going to happen. But yeah, it was like, you know, it was fairy tale stuff for everyone. And I think, as Gillar said, it was a 3-year sort of plan. We should have got promoted probably 2 years before that, but the FAI's sort of rules and moving the goalposts and regulations didn't help it. But I think overall, I mean, no one can sort of deny that we deserved it, you know, and that's where Dundalk belonged. But like, things didn't happen out afterwards, as Gillar said. Things were already right and was on the wall. So, but I think we all played a part, as all the lads said. I went right through the team, not just, you know, the first 11. There was whatever cuts of 17 or 18 players. As Gillar said, and he's right, the backroom staff like Jerry and, you know, everyone else, and they set it out. Everything was there for us, and a lot of us had come from sort of Monaghan or then sort of teams where, you know, Dundalk was a huge club. We had to bring our own gear up to like some Monaghan stuff. So to be treated like that, like professionals up there, we'd no excuses really.
Yeah, Gillar used to always say, you only have to walk in the door with your boots and your shin guards. Everyone else is laid out in front of you, right down to your towel and your after your training and games. Like, but T, I suppose, like, you were the exciting prospect coming on the scene at the time, and I suppose you had Trev, you had Robbie Farrell there as well. Someone else was up front, wasn't it? Robbie Martin.
Philly was there for the previous season, and some that we won the league. I had to put Philly in the departure lounge with those 10 games to go. And I probably should have, and I love Philly. I had him at a few clubs, but I probably should have got rid of Philly probably a little bit earlier than I did. But because I had a little bit of a graw for him, I kept him on. But at that stage, T was I seen T playing with the 19s, and he was just a raw, exciting talent. T was more game time. Philly was, because Philly didn't look after himself the year that we won the league, in fairness.
Yeah, spot on. T, before Giller rudely interrupted you there. I suppose, like, you know, just as the leading, like, you know, there was the big buzz about you. You were the local lad from Avonmore coming in. All your mates were in the shed cheering you on. How'd you feel the season went?
Sure, it's just like living a dream. Like, you were just coming to play. I think, like the boys were talking beforehand about pressure. Probably the more experienced boys probably felt the pressure part. I was only there playing football. Like, I just rocked up. I trained like I played, and that was it. Ran around, used to catch pigeons, as Giller would say, and I worked hard. And then we had the brains of Trevor, and even Robbie scoring goals, and David Crawley's left wand, and Flano's guts and determination. And then if you looked at the whole core of the team, it was probably more experienced than it was young. And then we were just there just to fill gaps when needed, probably. And then we probably got more game time towards the end because we were doing better than what people thought we were at the start, and we just all come on as a group. But I think the experience within the group, probably, I always go back to it, talking about Ben Whelan, and like our back four was probably the most experienced back four in the league. Like, if you go Flano, Aidan, Benno, and then you go David Crawley, like, sure, they could have played in the Premier Division. They knew the game inside out. So the boys going forward, like a Castle, Trevor, myself, we could go. Crowell sitting there smashing people with ball shields. We were grand. So you just run in the corners or run after the balls. And I think we went into every game. I thought, like Trevor was saying, we were playing for Dundalk. Like, we were the biggest club, no matter who else was in it. We were Dundalk, so it was always pressure. But it was probably the best year that I can always remember, because the lads, like travelling away in the away buses with Benno and Philly and the boys at the back, it was a great bunch. I was blessed. I was just living a dream where the boys were probably wanting to put bread on the table for their families, and they're earning a few quid and trying to get up, and I was just living a dream. So it didn't really bother me that way.
I didn't get. You got money that year. I didn't get anything. Giller offered me nothing.
Trev, you're on the page to play.
No one was getting money, Giller.
Yeah. That's what he said to you. He said that's why he wouldn't play you. You were getting paid as you played. That's why he didn't give you the minutes, Trev.
Listen, me and Giller had a great relationship. I know we saw the slag and fellas mess. I knocked on Giller's door once or twice in the few years, but I'm sure everyone else did. I never did when I knew I wasn't, or I shouldn't be playing. I mean, Philly Hughes was unbelievable. Heinze was there the first year as well, and the two of them together, I didn't know much about them, but I remember looking at them going, what are they doing playing in the first division? Like, you know, I couldn't go to Giller and go, Giller, I should be playing there. I never went. I mean, listen, everyone, as Giller says, you can't keep everyone happy all the time. And as much as it's sort of like a paradox, you want people knocking at your door, but you don't want them either. But you know, people aren't going to be happy by coming and knocking at you. But as a manager, as a coach, you need that, because you want people hungry. And as they all said before, everyone knew that there was someone ready to step into your position if you didn't perform. You know, and it was simple as that. And that's what makes a good team, that makes a good squad. And it's up to Giller and that to try and keep everyone happy, which is impossible, as he says. You know, but you know, and that's what the hunger was. And he says training was like that all the time. Everyone fighting for position. Steph going around kicking everyone's ankles and stuff, like, you know, as a young fella. But like, you know, they learned, and I probably learned like Ado and Flano, and you could see the hunger in these young kids, and you knew they wanted to learn, so you didn't mind. You know, they were watching you. It was maybe some of the other kids that came in, and you knew they were a bit of a flash Harry, that they thought they were everything. But T and Steph and the likes of them came in. You knew they were good lads. They wanted to train. They were learning from other fellas, you know, and it was great. Everything just sort of fell into place, as I say, like, you know.
Yeah, that's sort of it. You know, T will back me up on this. We were sort of looking towards, like, you mightn't have been starting the whole team, but you all the time, but you were a constant professional. You didn't drop your standards at any stage at all. If we were doing extra work, if you weren't playing or whatever, you were the first man out there, and you were spurring everyone on, like, sort of that sort of thing. You know, made the rest of us feel like $1,000,000, like, even if we weren't involved as much as we thought we should have been at the time or whatever. But like that everyone was driving it on from within, and it was just like T said, it was amazing to just be a part of the squad, never mind anything else.
Yeah. Well, I was the same. Steph. I was just one of yous. I just wanted to play as good as everyone else. And because I got older and I knew, and I don't think I'd won anything really. Maybe when I was younger, I was down with Shells as a squad player. But I mean, I knew I was coming to an end, and I knew how much it meant to the fans, and they were so good up there. It was Giller will probably tell you as well. Like going up there, we were all sort of going from so-called smaller teams, and all of a sudden, like Dundalk was a real club. It was a real team. We had real people that was passionate. Thursday nights, I mean, I don't know, there's probably 3,000 going to games. I mean, some of the Premier Division sides are great. I mean, if you didn't want to play in that and you were happy to sit on the bench, like, there's something wrong. But you knew as well that you couldn't play all the time. But so I think I knew being so close that like it would have been great when it did happen to just finish up, getting promoted, getting a winner's medal, whatever it was. And like Fano, I knew I was finishing up then, and I mean, you couldn't have gone out on a bigger high, really.
Yeah, talking to a lot of the lads, if you ask them what one of the highlights of their career is, everyone goes back to Station Road and just the magic of it, and walking off the pitch disconsolate, and then next of all the fans are going ballistic, and something's happened down the road in Tolka, and sure it just sparked the scenes.
Well, at first we didn't, Steph, because obviously Air Match, I remember Air Match had finished, but
yeah,
I think I'd gone on for the last 10 or 15 minutes or whatever, and it was 1-0 to Shells at the time, wasn't it? Or was it 1-0?
Yeah, it was 1-0 to Shells, yeah.
1-0 to Shells. So I remember when it finished, everyone was there was no celebration because we just won a match, but we didn't get what we wanted. We didn't win the league, and everyone was still, and there was people coming on. Fans were running on anyway, and this was before Colin Scanlon scored that infamous goal. Then I don't know whether it was a minute, two later, word got around, or there was a big roar. There was something. It's like watching Sky Sports. Something was after happening. Within like the seconds, it just got around. As Giller said, I always remember that Giller running past us. Like I was, what's he doing? Like, and as he said, I'm glad he remembered. I remember going into the dressing room, and I don't know whether Giller had known at the time, but he said he thought they were coming to lynch me. He said, I'm glad you remember that. He ran because he thought the fans were going after him. But that's what they were like. I mean, they loved him up there as well, but at the same time, they demanded success. You didn't know whether they were going to run on and hug you or hit you, But I mean, it was the fans and that and supporters that made it, because I think, listen, all right, you got a winner's medal, but if you had a one down in Kildare and there was 20 or 30 people there, the celebrations now wasn't there. Like the whole night, the way it happened, the last minute, and as Giller says, like some people might say you got lucky, but you don't. It's over the 36 games, but they remember the last kick of the game for Limerick. That's sort of, but we don't. Because we won it over the 36 games. We didn't win it with that. We got a little bit of help from, but that was about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I looking at it in the opposite way. I always thought Shells were the lucky side. Like I thought we were, when you look back on it, we were miles ahead of probably even 2 or 3 of the bottom teams in the Premier Division. We were miles ahead of them. Sport and Fingal were full time that year. We were miles ahead of them. We bashed them every week. It was the big games we could get up for. It was sometimes, like Giller talked about, when we were Wexford away, or we silly games where they just seemed to be a mishap. But if we played anybody on any given night, we'd beat them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think Davy Crawley's trying to get on here. It'd be great to get a chat with Davy, see what his thoughts were. But look, I'd say Giller had a nightmare every week trying to pick out 2, because we played with 2 up top the whole time. Like between yourself, used to Robbie Martin was the other striker, and Robbie Farrell. Like I think Robbie Farrell had a bit of a purple patch coming near the end. I think he got a few against that loan, and then did he get 4 tonight down in Kildare? I think he got 4.
I think he got 4. Yeah. During that season, I went off and got married. I forgot to tell Giller that when I was signing for the season that I was going to get married and I was going to be missing like a month or 6 weeks.
I agree with that.
He agrees with something anyway.
He agrees he got married.
Yeah, he does. He's still married. No,
You're still married. That's good.
I was getting married that year, and I just didn't tell you when I was signing. And I waited probably to a spell, probably when I was playing well. By the way, I'm going to be married. I'm going to be away for a few weeks. Furler stepped in, and yeah, he came in. I think we all probably had a purple patch. Kieran as well, Robbie Martin, and that's what you want from a squad. I knew I was 30. I was actually the night we won the league. That was my birthday. I was 35 that night. It was just, and I knew I probably spoke to Giller saying it was finished anyway. And as Ada said, I was never going to go up to the Premier. And Sean Connors did ring, I think, or whatever his name is, Sean O'Connor or whatever it was, just to say he wouldn't be offering me whatever. But which I knew anyway. But so I went out on a high one way or another,
Yeah, Trev, did you make it back to the Lily White Lounge?
Yeah, I did. We went. Yeah, well, I remember when Ada was saying, I was saying we did go back. Yeah, we got the bus back, and I think the bus even drove us back early in the morning. Whether it was 3 or 4, the driver stayed on and brought us all back to Dublin. I don't know where we got out or whatever, and I know we met up the next night. I think somewhere as well. But yeah, we went back into Lily White and. I remember, as Fano said, I think I was just standing around with tracksuit and stuff. I think Richie O'Connor, maybe Richie got a top off me or a tracksuit or something. I met him years later. I think he still had it. But yeah, it was brilliant. And like they were real fans, as I said. They were there through thick and thin. They weren't just fair weather supporters jumping on the bandwagon when we won and hanging back there. They were, they were real fans. It's a great club,
Yeah, I think we opened the door to Lily White Lounge and we had the crowd stuff up to the main stage and the boys were in there with the drums and I think there might have been a few flares even at one stage. It was crazy.
It was a blur anyway, Steph. It was a blur, but yeah, it was brilliant. I knew, as I said, in the moment, that's just one of them times where you just go, right, we're going wherever they're going, or we're going back. You just cancel plans because it wasn't going to happen for me again. It might have happened for T, but for me, it certainly wasn't.
What's mad about this is there's kids walking around the town nowadays and they see the Pat Obins and all these boys that have won so much for the club in the last couple of years, and they're the modern day heroes. But listening to yourself, Trevor, John, Flano, Aidan, Tiernan, even David, if he'll ever appear, and of course you, Steph, too. But I mean, yous are my heroes. Yous are the ones that have given me probably the greatest night of my life. In 2002, I know, we won the FAI Cup and it was a great experience, but I was only 14 and I wasn't able to really, enjoy the moment as much. But in 2008, it was just such a great night. And even now I'm a little bit starstruck when I see you, it's mad.
No, as I said, it was brilliant for all of us. It was, as I said, the likes of T, we had the local lads, Simon Kelly, Steph was coming in. It was just great for all of us. I think the likes of even Ado and David come back from Shells, he'd obviously had a lot of success there, but a lot of us hadn't. The likes of Casso and Jamie King and Jamie Duffy and Minor that got in from Rovers. We all knew what such a big club was, and that that was it was another chance for them, to really do well and sort of get their names out there and play for a proper club, it really is. So I think as Giller said, a lot of it was driven by the senior pros, but the younger lads pushed us on as well, and kept us lively and all through training and stuff like that. And as Giller said, we were up there all the time, but it was an enjoyable place. And I'd come through the ranks where you were bringing up your own gear, you had to bring it home, wash it. You went up to the dock and everything was there. You leave your boots there, everything. You just walk in with a what you call them, wash bags now with spoon them. No, I didn't like some of the lads doing that because I thought they just had to toe the line. It was I'm a superstar, where the rest of us had gone through the whole ranks, washing gear, bringing up boots. They were leaving boots for some of the fellas, but yeah, it was just great. With no excuses, Giller brought in new dietary, they brought in the ice pats. He was as professional as can be,
Yeah, we went down to Limerick a couple of times to get the testing done and stuff. That was a testament to all Giller's professionalism and Jerry as well. I suppose Jerry, as I mentioned, with that supporting you, Giller.
listen, Steph. And would you believe Jerry, after the way it ended up, Jerry Scuddy never got involved in another club. Very, very sad and a big loss because he was a great guy.
Yeah, he was even look, Jerry would pull you aside and you know, if you were getting a bit frustrated in training, you weren't playing as much, he'd be putting the arm around the shoulder like a good assistant would and keeping everyone on track.
Yeah,
he was the soft touch, wasn't he? Not the soft, but he was the softer touch. Killer would go around, let him do all the shouting, and then Jerry would have been in the background, kind of wee faces behind you, keeping you happy. As if you'd be all right. Don't be worried about it.
He knew the game, and he knew the game. He knew how to improve players. Just a good way.
Who's that fella?
I'm on, boys. I'm on.
Yes, there
What's
he
Giller
is.
driving a bus there, is it? God
A
bless
limo.
us, Giller.
It's a limo, I think, Davey.
How's things?
Excellent.
How are you
Great to have
doing,
you
bro?
on.
All right. How you keeping, Trevor? All right. Good to see you.
And yeah, not a bother. You too.
Looking well, kid. What's Giller? A boat or a bus or a lorry?
I
can't get
I'm
in.
on my way
I'm
down
living-
to the boat, Davis.
You're on your way down to the boat. I'm living in a rough area in Dundalk. I just can't get on at the minute.
I told them all that already. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm on anyhow. So listen, good to see you all. How you keeping?
Great to see you, Davey.
All good,
Excellent.
Duffy, all good.
All good, yeah. Cheers,
Not
the
sure.
years don't belong in, do they?
No, oh, definitely not. I don't know if you were
The
able to
years
catch.
don't belong in.
I know. Well,
He's on a time delay. Don't mind him. But I don't know if you caught much of the lads on earlier. But
I see Tiernan had a shave, anyhow.
You know yourself, mate.
Huh?
he was finally able to grow the beard, so he said he might as well.
22 I am next week.
yeah, I'd say that, yeah. You look at me.
down here.
Where are you, Gillo? Down in Cove somewhere, is it?
No, I'm up in Cavan, up in Kiab.
Stop, will you?
He's in and out more times than I played that year, no?
David, just so we have yourself and Steph,
Where's
Tiernan and all the
As
locals.
much time as I can down here.
Oh,
David.
John's
It's a great
all
place
right.
to be. I'm wondering now.
Yeah, well,
Go
I
on,
mean,
Gav.
all the money you got up in Dog there the last year or two, you're spending and all now, yeah. Jerry Mattis never give you any.
over in Cavan.
Jerry Mattis never give you any.
Oh jeez, no
It
bonuses
wasn't
that
about
year.
the money, any Giller. It was about the medals, wasn't it?
Well, in fairness to you had big belly when you came to the club, but in fairness to you, probably one of my best signings in the last year was bringing David Crawley in because, again, leadership qualities, a winner, and in fairness, not many people know. David probably should have set up the year after he went, but he did an article in the local paper, and in fairness to him, had a go at the way probably he treated the determined of himself. Cost himself probably a contract, I'd say. David should have played. There was another 2 or 3 years left in Davey if the management there had a say in right.
Yeah, I think I actually got a phone call from I think Sean O'Connor. I was actually in McDonald's and he rang me. But you know, I was getting a Big Mac and he says, "Hello, Dave," and I says, "Yeah, how are you going?" He says, "This is Sean here." I said, "Good man, Sean. I'm in McDonald's. I'll see you later." And put the phone down. That's what I said to him. I think, and my woman says to me, "Who's that?" He says, "That's your man is taking over on Dog. He's after saying he's letting me go." I said, "Make sure you get red sauce in that burger." No, but listen, and then in fairness, Skiller, I went up to play with Dermot at Shelbourne then, you know. And at the end of it, I just got fed up with it then, you know. I'd been around the League of Ireland a long time, and again, I was lucky enough to win stuff and that. But I mean, the first division was tough, you know, and Trevor will tell you that, you know, it's a tough league to win, like, you know. And I was lucky enough to win 2 of them, but I mean, it's when you look at Dundalk now at the minute, like, I don't think we don't get the credit for winning the first division because you never really hear about it. But when you're in that league, it's really tough, you know.
Yeah, it seems, and even if we do get the credit, Dave, it's usually that we were lucky to win it, which is bollocks in my view.
Yeah, 100%, John.
You know, you don't, as I said earlier on, you don't win a league over one minute in the last game. You win it over 36 games.
Yeah, 100%. Gally, you were going to jump in and say something there.
I was just saying when we had David on and T and yourself, like that season, outside of matches, did you, because you're from town and you're always going about and you might be out in the star, might have a bite, did you feel kind of like a pressure? Do you think people was anybody on to you like, look, this is the year, we got to get up at this kind of, did you get that sense off people, or was it just?
I think so.
Do you think, yeah?
Yeah, no, look, just from my perspective, I think like Gillar had it drummed into us that he had scouts in all the pubs and nightclubs, so myself and Grimesy couldn't even get out. We couldn't even get out for a cheeky hamburger after games. Gillar had people out watching all of us. But no, look, even when you went up to town, I don't know what it was like for the rest of the lads, but you'd have people recognising you, saying hello. You felt like you were really part of something special, and you were going for the league, and people were asking you, how are you getting on? Even asking about injuries, everyone fit, and stuff like that. There was a bit of a buzz around the place. Yeah. Like, I don't know what, Davey, what do you think? He can't hear me, can he?
Davey's done. He can't hear.
He's blanked. He's
can't
blanked.
Hear you, lads. Honestly.
Tiernan.
I can't hear you. You're getting in and out there. Is Gillar talking about himself or what?
No, we just asked him what's it like to be a local that year.
I know. Listen, being a local, it's special. When you grow up, you dream about playing, with your local club. But then when you get a chance to play with the main team in Dundalk, obviously Dundalk, it's a great feeling. Them Thursday nights going up, leaving work and going up to Oriel Park on Thursday night were great nights. We we were in the first division and we had 3,500, 4,000 every Thursday night, as they used to call around Dundalk, Thirsty Thursday. Because all the supporters were going after a few points, but they were great nights, we the serious team now. When you go through the team, in quality all over the team, and yeah, we had a blip that year, but I mean everybody has a blip, but you need a wee bit of luck to win a league, and I remember in Kildare saying, Jesus Christ, how did we throw that away? And going over to my wife Carla and she's saying, oh, lucky David. And then I'm looking and I turn around and I see everybody running, and I says, God, Jesus, Gillar's going to get killed here, But and then I seen the security guard grabbing him, and I says, oh no, he's done. And I just kept walking, and then they start screaming and shouting. So I just went with everybody else, But I was looking at a WhatsApp video there not too long ago, and I think it's 10 minutes long there, and when you look at it and you see the whole way through the season, it was great, it was great the way it turned out, it was great memories,
T, what did you think of that? What did you think about being a local round town and having all your mates in the shed smoking funny stuff?
That's all it was. Yeah, mine was just mates. Like I said before, I was just there to play football. The worst part of the whole lot was playing against David, kicking you, spitting on you, grabbing you, biting you, and that was probably the worst part. So, he was supposed to be a teammate, or Ben Whelan not want to run after you and just want to kick you, and then Flano saying the same, and that was the worst part. I thought the games were the easy part, of walking around Dundalk. I wasn't one for going out when I was younger. I was fully focused on playing, and I was blessed, but I just took it as if
stop hearing him, will you?
He's making up for it now, Davey.
Dundalk gear on you, for fuck's sake, man. Everybody were signing autographs all over the place.
That's because they can't remember me.
Yeah. I see Steph still has his jersey on him. Jesus Christ, every time I see him, he's that jersey on him, boy.
the last time I seen you in the
remember the old home farm jersey, Trevor, the Everton one. Remember that one?
Somewhere, Davey.
Yeah, stop. You've scored many goals against me, boy. I could never go round. You used to stick your arse into me, hey, and blow me away, hey.
Bigger now it is.
Yeah. Oh, great memories, boy.
As you're saying, it was great times, and there was fellas there that had won things like Davey, and Ado come from UCD and all. The fellas with good careers, and we just and that was down to Giller as well. We have to give him a bit of credit. Like, he brought in good people, sounded everyone out, and everyone just got on. And it's easy to say that, but we did, you know. And the lads, Tiernan and all, were great as well, bringing in. And that added, they brought in the locals as well that loved, obviously, the locals playing. And for Tiernan, I'm sure, and Stefan, but especially Tiernan, that was a striker, scoring goals. He was fast, he was pacey. It was a nightmare for our defenders to mark, and that's what fans wanted to see as well. Like, you know, so as much as I say, he thought it was great with us. It was great for us to be playing with him and teaching that he was learning all the time, and just trying to keep him away from Gribbles. Grimesy, that was the only thing, wasn't it?
Grimesy, a good lad now, in fairness. Grimesy had a good career, in fairness. Went to Monaghan and...
Grimesy was out of your pocket yet?
Huh?
Is he out of your pocket yet? He used to live in your pocket, didn't he, for around 2 years?
Yeah, he was a good lad, Grimesy.
Listen, Grimesy had Davy in front of him, and if he wasn't going to learn from Davy, he wasn't going to learn from anyone, like, you know what I mean? And he did, and he went on, he done great. I mean, he stayed on with Dundalk or went back to them, and, you know, under Stephen, and yeah, it was brilliant for him. Like, you know, he could have easily just said, here, I'm not getting in the head. They put their heads down and they worked hard, like, you know.
That's you're right, Trevor. Like, good lads, like, you know, even Stephen McKevitt, he found it very hard to get in, but they were really important to us during that season, you know, in training, the whole lot. They never put their head down, and that's what winning leagues is about. You have to have a squad, you know, and again, Tiernan come on the scene there, and with his pace and that was frightening. That good lad, good, you know. In fairness, they worked hard and they got the rewards, they got the medal, and you know, the more you put into football, the more you get out. But again, with Grimesy and that, a good lad, you know. It's funny, I was coming through the town the other night, and this big red car's coming towards me, and I'm on my bike, like, I'm flying through the town, like, you know, I'm giving it loads, and I come round the bend there, and Grimesy coming towards me, and he didn't know it was me, and he says, "Hey, I fucking nearly hit you there." And he said, "What are you on about, mate?" And he says, "Oh, for fuck's sake, Davey, if I hadn't known it was you, I would have fucking run you over." But we things like that, it's great to see the boys, and, you know, it's great to win. It's great to win. You know, it is special when you are a local, Trevor. You know yourself. We grew up here and we see people every day, and, you know, the memories is unreal. Like, you know, but I mean, if you play one game for Dundalk, it's special because it's a massive, massive club. You know, I grew up, you know, Willie obviously playing with Dundalk and that, going up with my mother and that, and saying, Jesus Christ, one day I'd love to, you know, and to be able to do what I done. I'm sure Tiernan and all the local boys is great, but even the Dublin boys coming down, they're absolutely excellent. Like, they come down to training derby Tuesday and Thursday, and there was no hassle. And then we used to go up on Saturday morning to them and do it. But they were great crack, great lads, you know, and we'd a great team that year. And in fairness to John Gill, you know, it was hard for him, you know, because everybody doesn't play every week and everybody gives out and all that kind of stuff. Like, but no, it was a great year, that, and great memories.
Crowls, how's it going?
Lads, how are you? How's things?
How's things, Crowls?
All right, man.
Just heard Davey talking about the Dublin lads. Hope it was all good. Just snuck in there at the end.
You just missed it.
He was lying. He says it used to be great going up to Dublin the weekends for the gym. We never heard him moan so much, did we? Maybe once a month he'd come up and do a spinning class. Oh, jeez, come up to Dublin.
You want to hear him in the car then?
Yeah.
I can just imagine.
If he had to buy him a chicken fillet roll down the road.
Do you remember Gayle used to sit in the corner when we were going into the gym? He'd be hung over hiding behind the newspaper.
Oh, they were the days, weren't they? But who's that trying to go on? Paul Crowley, is it?
Crowley, yeah.
This fella's all over LMFM doing the interviews and commentary with Adrian Tapp. This fella's making the fortune on.
You don't be that bored, Davey.
Honest to God, I'm going to say it when he comes on. Hey. Oh Jesus, huh? Tiernan, you're dying that beard. Honest to God, yeah, it's jet black.
What do you think?
Davey, I told you, I'm only 30. I'm only 30, I'm not 50.
He's
sake, man, honest to God. Trevor, these young fellas, huh?
There's not much black in my beard.
Yours a bit grey, alright, Crowls. You want to sort that?
Gillen must have crashed the boat, did he?
He must be getting on the boat.
Or he must be picking Vinny. He must be picking Vinny Powers up to go down to take the job again.
Boy's back. He must have heard it.
There he is.
He must have heard it. He's back now.
Yeah. Honest to God, hey. I wouldn't mind when he's the manager up there now, you won't even look at you. You're asking up as supporters. Will you get me a free ticket? No. Who are you?
You're back.
Yeah, who are you?
He's back.
Yeah.
He's back. There's a bit of a time delay on it.
John, how are you?
We've Crowds on.
You there?
Where's he stepping, have we?
He's in now. Crowds like a fiddler's elbow.
Yeah, I was only thinking there. When I seen you, Trent.
When Ben was on. Oh, here we go. Giller's back. He landed in the dog.
I'm doing my best.
Oh, look at this.
There's another one of his children there.
Who's that?
Here we go.
Here we go.
Translator.
Giorgio Armani.
Titles coming up.
He's certainly wearing Giorgio Armani. You see the fella taking the soap bag in?
I think he's in the Bows. He's in the Bows bar, is he? Look, he's letting us all know he's still involved.
Yeah. Every time you see him on television, he's never smiling.
Hugging longer as well. Always hugging longer.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Can't get a word in there,
the whole time, huh?
hang on, Dino. Get the subtitles up here when he starts talking. Go on, Ben O'Hare.
Unless these standards over you, lads.
Record it. Sky Plus it on the dodgy box.
Well, he's gone.
He's gone.
Crowds involved. Crowds are telling us a few stories.
Yeah, he'll be there, all right.
Crowds.
There we go.
I don't know if you. I think you were training your team tonight, were you? You probably missed most of the show.
Yeah, just back from training, just in the door.
Yeah, we were sort of just going through the
probably no stories left, is there, to tell?
I don't know. I'd say you've one or two up your sleeve. No, we were just sort of doing the run in of the league, the last couple of games where we sort of lost to Limerick, we won down in Waterford. We beat Fingal, and then we were up against I think Athlone at home and Kildare away. What was your feelings running up to the final couple of games?
It was just always so tight with Shells, wasn't it? I mean, no one really got away from each other. Even the game when we did play them, there was never ratting in it, and I just caught the end of it there, and Davey talking about how competitive the first division was, and I don't think anyone will ever realise, back then especially, it never got much coverage really. I mean, until the likes of the Dock and Shells were in it, I suppose then it could not get the coverage. But as I said, it was so competitive, and even there was you didn't hit teams for 5 and 6 at any stage. You could go anywhere and get beaten. No, just neck and neck. But Shells, I suppose, they had as strong a squad as as well. But I remember you touching on fairness to John. He done it with me before. He put a squad together in Dublin City. We won a first division there as well. He just had that knack of getting experience in, getting young lads in, and in Dundalk keeping new local boys was massive as well. Listen, it's that ingredients, and he was able to do it on a couple of occasions, and it was no fluke. It was amazing to get it over the line. It was a massive club. Thursday night football, I just remember the crowds and everything. You couldn't believe you were in the first division at times, and it was probably the only club at the time that I wanted to go to. I only came back from an operation, and John took a chance on me really, and especially going onto an AstroTurf after just having a groin operation was going to be dodgy. But just the dressing room was brilliant to work in. All the lads were just there for each other, and it was just so many different groups, young, old, dubs, local lads. It's hard to pull all that together, but I think we deserved it over the season, really do.
Yeah, definitely. I just sort of remember some of the pre-season games, and just something that sticks out in my head, and Davy Crawley sort of set the tone for it. I think someone was playing ahead of him on the left-hand side, and he sort of got a bad tackle over the sideline, and next of all, Davy just came up and lifted the opposition player out of it. and we all sort of piled in, and it sort of, after the game, Davey was sort of saying, look, we're all in it together. If one of us goes in, we all follow in, and I suppose we carried it through the season, and it sort of stood us in good stead. I don't know if you remember that, Davey.
He kicked that many people, so everybody know that.
Yeah. He was busy kicking you in training, so
there was that balance, wasn't there, of quality and aggression all over the team. Like, it was, I'm sure it was a hard team to pick. He'll tell you himself there. Like, I remember one day, I'll never forget it, Trev. I don't know whether you remember it. He was picking a team one day, and I felt it should have been playing, as everyone did, and sure Trev did as well. And I just remember John picking the team, and I just remember him nearly picking the team and walking out of the dressing room down to his little office. And I looked at Trev, and he looked at me, and we just fucking followed him down to his office. and that's how much people wanted to play. It was funny. Like, I'll never forget it. Do you remember it?
Kiko, there was a couple of times like that.
Do you remember that?
Giller might.
I remember. Well, you two were probably okay, but I remember Reiner doing it, and Reiner didn't play for me again. Pretty much after that.
Yeah.
That little cave that I used to be in was kind of the get away from it all place. But you knew when I went into that little cave and I was followed down, there was usually going to be a few harsh words spoken in each from everybody.
Yeah.
But listen, I tried to treat everybody fairly. I think that's what I tried to do. You're obviously going to upset everybody. You're not going to please everybody all of the time, but definitely that year was definitely a squad. If you look at even yourself and Sheila in the middle, Crowls, and you were like a love child because I had you in Dublin City, so you knew the way that they worked. But yourself and Sheila that year, where you try and build partnerships. You and that other lunatic beside you, were like two dogs of war that year. Gave us a great platform to go on and win something. And looking at Benno there, I remember having the odd row with Benno in the dressing room. I needed an interpreter with Benno, as we all did.
I was quiet.
Yeah, we're all right.
Benno.
I was talking to Ado and Frano earlier on, and what made that squad for me was they say you need good footballers, but I said earlier on you need good people as well, and we great people. The backroom team, the players, and the town itself, the supporters. You very rarely get a group like that just interweave. It was 3 years hard work, but the last year, the way everybody just dovetailed, the players, the backroom team, the town itself, it was just special, and you don't actually probably appreciate how good it is until you look back, and it's like everything. You feel like you should have appreciated it more.
Yeah, exactly. Benno, you're on the shandies, are you?
And I probably agree with John there. So if you look back, what was it, 2008? As I say, with Crowes and Trev there, the Crawley and all that, the squad was unbelievable. I think togetherness was there is some stories, and as I say, maybe I'll keep to myself, but it was great to have.
Actually, I
look back
have a good one on you, Benno. Benno, do you remember you threw Jerry into the kit box and you locked him in? Right? So little Jerry, the kit man, was locked in, and he was, Giller, mate. And his hand, he like the two claws. So I said, Jerry, don't worry, we'll get him back. So I said to Jerry, go and see can you get some spray Raljacks. So Benno didn't rise up. Well, Benno was out training. I said, Jerry, get his boxers and spray the Raljacks on his boxers. So Jerry went, he nearly emptied the can on Benno's boxers. So Benno's driving home on the M50, had to pull the car in and take the boxers off because the scrotum was had to be burnt off.
Oh, cracking.
Unbelievable.
You were offline there, John. We were just talking about the gym. Do you remember you had the gym organised for Saturday mornings after Thursday games?
Yeah, what a gym that was. It was a brilliant gym, by the way, as well. It was a brilliant gym.
We used to know when you were sitting in the corner with your newspaper that you had a few shandies the night before.
Never.
We were talking about.
The ultimate professional.
Yeah, paper used to be up over the eyes, and we used to then say, carrying a little knock now and just going to hop in the jacuzzi here.
I've been on the spinning bike, sweating the gargle out of us.
Yeah. But it was, you know what, the balance was great, wasn't it? Like, with the Thursday night football and things going so well. I mean, you were working hard, you were training hard. We were traveling up from Dublin, but then you were able to do that. You went and got your few beers in as well, and then you got up the next day and you went and done your work. Like, you know, I suppose that's going out of the game a little bit as well, which is sad for the lads coming through, isn't it? I mean, it's brilliant. It's gone so professional, and they're all looking after themselves so much. It's great, but we had good years though at times when we could go out and have a beer as well and enjoy it, you know.
Well, Benno, do you want to tell them the story about the pre-season break when I phoned you after we gave you the break, and I had told everybody if they came back, much was it? I think it was 50 quid every pound.
Yeah.
I think I fined Benno. I think you got fined 150 quid, Benno, I think, when you came back.
Something like that, yeah. Nearly got divorced as well.
There's the sum. I think you had to give T €50. He lost weight.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind. It was probably one of the skinniest lads.
Wish we could do it now.
Yeah. I think he cleaned up on Philly Hughes the year before. I think he had to give a record amount, so he tried to do it again to us on the season break. Like, but do you know the camaraderie in between all the lads like was brilliant. Looking up to the old lads like Crowles there. You won't mind me saying,
we're not the oldest in this group.
I knew you'd like that
2008,
one.
That's how Johnny, what do you call it? That's how he owns a boat where they fines for the overweight fines with Philly Hughes and myself, I think.
Yeah, that was some year for the kiddies, Benno. I think we left it all behind in Temple Bar that year, did we?
Or I don't know whether Sheila, you remember, or Paul, you remember this? Do you remember Sheila got sent off against Shells and I handed him the letter in the dressing room and I left because I knew? Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Sheila nearly combusted. He nearly combusted. There was screams coming out of him. He walked out that night and I met him next day for coffee and I said, Paul, you can't go around just with a minute to go, just give somebody a punch in the fucking jaw and expect the club to pay for the next 3 weeks. And I think I compromised. I tried to fine him. I think I tried to fine him a month, but I knew I'd get away with 2 weeks. So he accepted 2 weeks and he came back in. But Sheila, there was always a little bit of a screw loose in Sheila at times when you didn't know what he was going to do, particularly when you were getting beaten.
Yeah, I remember.
You were mad hand delivering that letter, I tell you.
Oh, I tell you what, I got great pleasure. I gave him the letter in the envelope. I just walked away into that little cave and I just heard screams and roars, and it was very, very funny. Now I have to say, to see him react like that.
I remember him coming to me, Giller, because I think my memory serves me right. I think Casso was sent off in the same game, but you might not have given Casso a fine.
No, because Casso was like Crowles, a love child.
He was the new love child now. I was blown out.
See the steam coming out.
Well over, didn't he?
And he's like Benno from Monaghan. You couldn't understand him, and he came to me, and I was like, "Listen." I remember then later on, you were saying to me, "That was the reaction I wanted out of him."
Yeah. Trev, if I'm not mistaken, I think you rang me on the way home. You'd rang me on the way home and said, Giller, you're going to have to speak. Give him a ring to me. You're going to have to speak to him. And I think
I had to cool him down or something, yeah. Because he was like, I think he was nearly ready to walk. Now, you know when you overreact, but Sheila, you didn't mess with Sheila, but you got a reaction out of him and you have to toe the line. But everyone knew, as Crowds was saying, there was fellas there to step in. The training was great. It just drove itself. But I mean, that was with you getting them players in, and any good sides do that, like, you know. But the crack was there, as well as Crowds was saying. We went out at the right time, you know. But at the end of the day, everyone wanted the same goal. And I mean, the few nights we probably had after the Kildare game was just relief, and it was worth all the nights staying in or whatever, you know. So yeah, like me and as I said, the lads went on and Crowds went on and played for Drogheda. All good careers. Like, it wasn't as if they were just one season wonders. There was some good players there, like, you know.
Yeah, totally agree with you.
And even you, I don't want to leave you out, Giller. You went on as well, like, you know.
I did, but no, the funny thing is, Trev, I never went on to manage after that. That's another regret. I don't know whether my reputation was not my reputation, but whether you were damaged goods or not. But I did go on and coach, and I was assistant manager, but I never went on to manage. And that kind of ate me, because I would have liked a crack at the Premier Division with the core of that group that we had. Because I think the core of that group, with the young players that were there, I've spoken with this earlier on, it was definitely 12 to 14 players that I think would have done better than the circus that followed, in my view. And I don't mean that by, I don't mean it. Listen, the likes of T and Simon Kelly were good lads, and Benno, but what came after us and the carry-ons and what went on certainly didn't do those three lads any favours anyway, because it was like a stag party for the year, in my view, and it was wrong. And there was definitely players that got promoted that year that went on to prove, but they were more than capable of playing in the Premier Division the following year.
It was so disappointing, wasn't it? Like there were so many missed opportunities there on all levels. Like for staff, for Jerry the kit man you talk about there to do his work in the Premier Division and go to them grounds. Like for all the players young, maybe as you said, Trev, like maybe another year would have been the Premier Division. Like would have been a year that you could have helped the club out great as well, and younger lads to push on. And for what happened, like, it was just a disgrace and unheard of, and still unheard of till this day.
Yeah,
you wouldn't to wipe out the existence of the whole club, nearly the staff and the players. It's just
me and John actually had a disagreement on it. I think I stayed on. I felt quite isolated the following year because I knew Sean Connor didn't want to keep me. But I'd done, obviously, because I was one of the longest 7 players, I'd done an interview about it. And John will back me up on this. And I said something along the lines of that ability-wise, it's probably the best squad that Dundalk have assembled. But there was no character there. But obviously, if you're looking at likes of Chrissy Turner signing, Liam Burns and so on, there was good players that signed, obviously, because there was money flung out. But obviously, it was took out of context. I think me and John had a little spat over it. We didn't speak, I think, for a couple of years, maybe, or a couple of months. I can't remember. But
look at you, Gilla.
Yeah.
But I probably regret it. I wish I'd left. Looking back, I wish I left after
well, actually, your health, Benno, your health suffered even that year when you were trying to juggle everything. I mean, you were lucky you had a health scare. But I'd be interested to see what Gally and Dino thought. Like at the end of that, the way that was handled. I know it's hard to use as supporters, and you were just probably pleased that the club had got promoted. But did you not think it was strange the way the whole thing was gutted and just people discarded?
Yeah, even when you played in the next year, I had no goalkeeping coach. I was training full time, working full time. That's when I took the whole stroke and blah blah blah. But there was no professionalism up there, and it's no disrespect to Sean Connor or anybody that took it. It was a strange atmosphere that year. And I probably sighed relief when Peter Cherry came in and took over me, to be honest with you, because I wasn't playing well. And that was just due to the tools of not getting the right facilities, i.e. and goalkeeping coaching, etc., so on and so forth. But look, you wouldn't change it for the world, because obviously, as I say, the memories of crowds has talked about 2008, and I think I was there for 8 years, so it was, at least you've got a winner's medal to look back and say you achieved something with that group of players, But it was just sour for me how it ended with Dundalk and how it left, in all honesty. But look, that's another story.
Yeah, Dino and Gal, what do you think, just as supporters looking in from the outside?
Go on, Pingo, you start.
Yeah, no, I think absolutely that team should have been given the opportunity to see how good they'd be in the Premier Division, It actually reminds me a lot of what's going on now with the changing of the guard, but I just, even something as simple as moving from Thursdays to Fridays, it just felt like a change, a complete different direction of where the club was going, and everything was, for them, obviously it was down in the first division, but everything that you have talked about tonight, about the crowds that were at games and everything like that there, it was a special place, and it was a special team to be supporting back then, and it was just completely ripped apart, which was tough. And I think as supporters at the time, when the likes of Chris Turner, Georgie O'Callaghan was signed at the time, you had these big name signings, and I think that probably those, particularly when Georgie O'Callaghan and that was signing, that kind of glossed over the fact that squad was ripped apart, and it was probably only 5-6 games into the season you really seen this is a massive mistake, and it was just. It was tough to see the club at that time, and to be honest, Dundalk were probably, and again, T, this is no disrespect to you, Ratton, but as everyone said, on paper, it was a very strong team, but that was probably, over the last 10, 12 years, the way that team played was probably one of the worst Dundalk teams of the last 12 years, the 2009 team, So I absolutely think that that 2008 squad should have got a crack at the Premier Division.
Yeah, I really like it's. I actually remember my father ringing me and saying John Gill was sacked from Oriel Park, and this was like obviously I would have known earlier, but it was after the game and all this came out, and I was kind of like, he must have done something. He must have been a row, or there must have been a fist fight. Like, how the hell can you get rid of someone? And then what followed then was Gavin McLaughlin maybe didn't answer, but I think there's a record season there for red cards in Europe at the time. I think they had something like 18 red cards in the season. Like, it was farcical. Now, don't get me wrong. Like Benno said, there was some decent players from like the likes of Giorgio Cali come in, but then I had the misfortune of renting a house very close to some of these players, and it was just like, it was carnage. Like, mostly, and like, look, I won't be saying their names or anything, but it was like what John said. It was just a complete circus. Like, I think when the players started coming in and we had all the signings, and there was kind of, they made a big spectacle of the signings. I think it was kind of getting people back on board and stuff, but it did really paper over what, like, we didn't really know till kind of maybe a couple of months later. People in the know would have known, but I didn't know as a fan what had actually happened and the way it was just ripped to shreds. But like, it's like a blotch on a, like, when I think back, maybe like, when I started going to Oriel Park, what are we talking, 95? It's like there's like a gap of a year. There's like a blotch of a year that year after that 2018 went, and it's just like, I know we're in a bit of a shit show at the minute, I suppose, but that year in particular was just, it's like one of those just like the delete. So great players, but like they were saying, like, there was just no kind of, there was no consistency with it. There was no character, I think somebody said as well, but it was like a mishmash of talent just thrown in, and look at lads, come up and train, and then whatever you want to do after that, just have at it. Not everybody was like that. I can only go for what I see with my own eyes, but like we like Pinker said, the talent of we'd Tom Heary at the back, we'd Burnsy, we'd Benno on goals, Peter Cherry coming halfway through, George O'Callaghan was a sensational footballer on this day, but off the field stuff was just like Mickey Collins. Like, it was mad. Like, some of these boys were just like, they're nearly like you take, for instance, look at Trevor Vaughan there. Trevor Vaughan's like a cult hero, like a cult figure in Oriel Park. These boys are cult heroes, but completely different reason. It's like a renegade team. Like, that's pretty much what it was, and it was, yeah. For me, anyway, as a fan, it's like a blotch. And like, that year is just kind of like a look. We forget that, paper over, and we'll move on to maybe Ian Foster's time after that. But yeah, it's crazy.
I actually think that first division team would have beaten that team, Gally. That's being honest.
Probably, yeah, you're probably right.
I actually think we would have beaten them. Now, listen, was there maybe better individuals in that team? Well, there was potentially better individuals. Me as a team, that 2008 team for me would have beaten that team, in my view.
Yeah. Once we had Keane on our side.
And I trained every day, but I'd agree with just as I say, looking back at that squad, there was just it was just characters all over the place. And John, you've mentioned a few times in the interview, like the dressing room ran itself, like they had Trevor there, flipping Krause, Crawley, flipping Philly Hughes, unbelievable like characters that just kind of run the dressing rooms. And as I said, that's what you needed. There was arguments, there was flipping fist kicked, everything going on, but like we all stuck together. And when you look at that squad in 2019, that was just, I don't really get into it. It was just, there was more behind the scenes. It just wasn't right. 100% wasn't right. So, and it's just, as I say, from a personal point of view, it was just a bad way to kind of leave and end my career at Dundalk. Like, but as I say, it is what it is now. So, but I do think that 2008 team would beat the 2009 Premier team easily without a shadow.
I was just thinking as a young fella, kind of being in boats, so obviously learning from boys who are earning not as much money as probably what the next year was, people who are fighting for careers, as probably when Stephen Kenny came in, it was something similar, boys who were given a chance to do something at a great club. And I think the 2008 team or something like that, wanting to come maybe a year before, we should have done better. And then the second year, the 2009 year for men to be around, bar one or two, because there's always is one or two, but in the group in a whole was nowhere near as together, maybe there was a group of them that were together pulling in one direction and the rest of us were pulling in all other directions. But the 2008 group, everybody was together. As we said, there was 18, 19, 20 people all in the one direction wanting to learn. There was people there giving advice. If you weren't doing well, there was someone patting you in the back. The 2009 team, I can guarantee you there was none of that. It was every man for himself. Whatever happened, and there were still some talented players. Probably Chris Turner's one of the most talented players I've ever played with. But whatever was going on around the outsides and all this kind of stuff it was a wee bit mad. Like, but for learning wise, I would have rather been in the 2008 team. But I learned an awful lot in the 2019 what not to do at the same time. So I was blessed probably having a bit of both. You know what I mean? But it was carnage. But I wouldn't change it just because I got to learn both sides and knew what the right was and what was wrong for probably to follow in my career, and even probably coaching kids as well, knowing what characters you need to have around people. And like I got to learn from Philly, Trevor, people say who's in my position, people who are there to help you. Philly Hughes giving you boots because he was had the wee Umbro deal and all. There was people there wanting to do well for you, where I think the next year it was people just trying to get in ahead of you and never mind what they could actually do for you. And I think I'll even go as far as saying the manager was like that as well. He's not someone who I'd be fond of either. Like he was all out for himself and he was a show pony.
Yeah, look, it was a bit of it was hard for me as well. I was looking to progress my career, and then finding it in the newspaper that I was released was a tough pill to swallow. Like I think it might have been a week after the game in Kildare where we won the league that we had the Player of the Year, or not the player. Was it the Player of the Year awards?
Yeah, it was. I went to that one, Steph.
You were up, and I actually got my medal off you, my first division medal, still in my mother's house. But look, it was what should have been a great occasion and a celebration night was a damn squib then in the end, because everyone knew what was happening, and you knew you were gone as well, John, and we sort of filtered through the squad, and it was such a disappointment after hitting the heights of the week before. I know football's a funny game and things can happen in a flick of a switch, like, but you know, we should have been all celebrating that night together, and it was so disheartening, and most of us knew we were probably going to be let go by the club and it was going in a different direction. It was just hard look, T has one. T has
it. That in there, look, so it's still here. Don't be worrying about it. I haven't won much.
Looks nice and fresh, that T.
You leave it. They're the treasured moments, boys.
Yeah. You'll always look back at that. It's always in the box.
Gave my medal to young Sean Matthews, Jerry's son, actually. Remember young Sean used to come to all the games with us. Sean
Sean.
Sean has your medal. There you go. That's I'm sure that's a nice memento he still has with him today, and that was the testament to you as a person, John. You know, you're very personal about all the players. You try to do your best for everything. So,
do you imagine the momentum that would have went into that season with that group? Do you know, we'll never no fans, us as players, John, people at Dundalk will never know what that group could have achieved, you know, with obviously a few additions which would have had to happen. That's always going to be, but you know, as I say, missed opportunities for everybody. You know, it's just.
I would have been there for a while probably after it even, and I don't think, and I even go as far as Penguin might disagree because he's probably mates with them, but even down to Ian Foster, and I would have none of them over what we had, to tell the truth. Like bar when Stephen came in, because I think Stephen was, I went away and then obviously come back, and it was everybody's kind of last chance to come back and try to do something for the town. Obviously, because we were in the Premier Division, we were expected to win because we were at Dundalk. No matter what league you're in, you're still expected to win because you're at Dundalk. So, but that 2008 team, I'd take over any until I probably met Stephen's team, because I was probably at an age where I believed in myself a wee bit more, probably around 24, 25, and I wanted to give it a crack, kind of. And then, but even Foster's team and all, I think he's another one who's all self. I thought he was very into himself and up his own arse at times and all night. I've never met probably a group of people. I'd be honest, that there wasn't a group of people like the 2008 group, because there was no one. We had probably the best striker in Philly. Castle was probably the best attacking player. I think he probably got Player of the Year, did he, that year?
I think he did too, yeah. I think he did.
I think John gave it to him.
We got Giller's one as well, yeah. But I think we had the best players, but no one ever thought they were the best. But there was nothing like that. Bar Philly when he used to do the 5-yard sprints and turn backwards and all that carry on. But you know what I mean? But I don't think no other team I probably had that. I think there was always 2 or 3 that always kind of thought they were something, but until I met Stephen Kenny's team, where it was people fighting to be something again, because the Dochernear relegated the year before, so it was kind of like a last chance saloon as well. But it was it's the best bunch of boys I've probably been with. I was blessed.
And it's back to John, isn't it? Because I can say I've seen it before, as I said, with Dublin City. Like, I remember I'm signing Graham Dunnan and Terry Gleeson. Was it, John? Like,
yeah.
Time we won the 2 Leinster Senior League players, and then there would have been Robbie Horgan there, Brendan. Just seemed to have this knack of bringing in the right ingredients all the time, and personalities, as you said, that was missing in 2009, I'm sure. But in 2008, we personalities. Like, we never had gripes with each other if we weren't playing. We'd obviously gripes with John, that's fine, but we never, because the likes of Steph and T, as you said, just were there. He's loved the place, he's loved the club. Young lads now, like, if they're not getting in, they don't hang around anywhere now. You know, so it's not easy to put bunches of players like that together with youth experience, grit, determination.
You sign good people. You better sign good people. I did.
Yeah.
I would have done a lot of due diligence on players. I really would have now. And then I always loved a couple of young players. When I saw T and Stefan with our 19s, I always had great interest in the younger players, and they were 2 players that stood out for me like beacon. That's why I brought them into the group. But young Grimes, but you sign good people, and there's very few people. I've had to let people go, but it wasn't really because of bad people. They were just either I was getting better people and I had to replace them, or I didn't feel I was going to be fair to them. They weren't going to play. It was very even Heinze go because he wasn't a bad person. He made a very silly mistake. Disrespectful to the group that year, celebrating the Rovers when they won the league. But I saw very, very few bad people, and the backroom team the same. You bring good people into it around you, and you do that.
Was it always one of? It was always one of Benno or Philly. You had to let go then, was it?
just going back to John.
Believe it or not, I let Philly go and didn't want to do it. I had given them, the lads will remember, Trevor, I'm sure Crowles, I don't know whether you remember T, but he had got himself out of condition, and he wasn't putting in there, because he had a fabulous season the year before. You remember, he scored about 24 goals. But
still the record scorer, I think, isn't he, in a season?
I think Hoban broke it, but Philly let himself go and let himself down, and I've no problem saying I loved him. I brought Philly. I had Philly in 3 different clubs, but to let him go broke me heart. But I probably should have let him go. Earlier. I said that earlier on. But like, they were all good, and he's a good person. Philly is a great lad. Just didn't take his football probably as serious as the rest of the group did, in my view. That's my view. Because we were a serious group. Yeah, we liked the crack, and we were close. But you worked hard. You might have played hard as well, but you worked hard. And that was the biggest thing. And when you didn't work hard, you weren't going to be around the group too. I think the group would have I think you as a group would have got rid of people, wouldn't have tolerated people doing that.
I think Ado Lynch would have been on his case a lot. Anyway, for sure. But just going back to what you were saying about signing players and looking at the youth, and it sort of sticks out in my head as well. We were playing with the 18s at the time, and we had the likes of T, Shane Grimes, Kevin McCardle, players like that, and playing a friendly out in Belogan, and you'd only got the job, I think, a couple of weeks, and it was some Sunday morning before pre-season started with the first team, and the ball goes out for a throw, and I'm running out as a rifle to get the ball for a throw, and then you threw the ball to me, and next all you're thinking, oh shit, here's the first team manager coming down to look see if there's any talent here. So immediately you knew, look, if you do well in these games, you were looking out. You were looking out for the talent coming through, and it just gave you a lift that, there's a chance here. if you put the work in and you played well and you showed determination and stuff like that.
Steph, that's when they knew he made a mistake, taking the job, come to that game.
He was on his way up to Cavan to the boat, and he decided just to stop it for 20 minutes.
He must have got lost when he was out in Belogan, yeah?
I said, oh shit, what am I doing here? This is what's coming up.
No, I think Giller's right and Grell's right. I mean, if there's a bad egg, it's like a cancer, and it gets into the dressing room and it just spreads. And no one wanted that. We knew there was good lads around, and none of us would have put up with that sort of stuff. And as Giller said, I don't think anyone did. I don't think he signed anyone that sort of came in to disrupted things. You know, there was lads there. There was no big time Charlies. There was a few fellas, all right, a bit flash Harry like Krells and Robbie Farrell they loved and stuff. But like it was all in good banter, and the work was done. They put their hard work in. So no one minded them coming up with the flashy gear when they were putting it on and stuff like, and Jamie Duffy and all. So the work was done. That falls into place.
That was the BMW crew, was it, Trev?
That was, yeah. That was it.
They were all driving the coupes up the road, up to Dublin.
We were in the family cars.
Talk about circus. Don't remind me about them car journeys. Ian Ryan, Jamie Duffy, and David O'Connor.
I think they were saying, the lads was telling me, Giller, about one time they had you stuck in behind them. They were going about 60 on the motorway, and you were trying to get past them the whole time, and they kept jumping in front of you while you were trying to get past them to get the training.
Should it been steering? You used to steer the car with bands and everything, with the wheels and everything. You want to see them.
We'll have to do a show with that.
What about the day Reiner come on the bus? Remember after his hair transplant?
Oh, I was only telling the lads that a while ago. We trained on a Tuesday night, and he was like Bobby Charlton. And then we were going somewhere on Friday.
Oh,
he turns up like Valderrama. What a crew to commit! What a crew to come into! He should have waited another year for that.
He couldn't wait to take off the cap, could he? Shoot! Oh my God!
Do you know who was another great bloke, Giller? And no one's mentioned him. He just sort of slipped by, and probably done that on the pitch. As in slip Marnie, Gollum.
Paul Marnie.
Wasn't he?
Oh yeah.
I was speaking today to Stephen. I love him. Again, I kind of lost touch. What a lad! What a lad! And do you know what? He was the one lad that probably did get a raw deal, because I didn't play him probably as much as I should have maybe, and he used to frustrate him, but he wouldn't come to. He wasn't like you. He never once came to you and wanted to know why, or
That's why you didn't play him.
Well, you know what? He played a good bit near the end, I think, on the run in, because he could. Martin's problem was he was probably too versatile. Crowds, he could play anywhere.
Yeah, he could. I was something else on the ball.
Do you remember he played in goal against Fingal? Remember Benno was sent off? Remember we played Fingal with 10 men. Benno was sent off in the first half. We ended up beating them 3-2. I don't know whether T scored that night. We beat Fingal 3-2 in Oriel. Benno was sent off in the first half. Martins went in goal. We played them with 10. We beat them with 10 men. And they were full time. Fingal were full time at that stage. So he was just a great bloke. Just a great bloke.
I remember that.
We won't mention the nickname I gave him that he took card at, that he took umbrage at.
No nicknames in this.
Yourself. No, that's best kept yourself.
Krells, what did he used to say after the training after a match? What did he always say to us? He used to always say, "I'm fucking gone, mate. That's it. Fucking gone."
Oh yeah.
If he didn't play the match before, he'd just go, "I'm fucking gone, mate. That's me at the door."
That was weekly, yeah.
He must have left about 300 times in the season.
Oh, stop! I was talking to Fardler today. He was actually raging he couldn't get on, but he told me not to mention that he finished top scorer. But we were laughing about it, and still to this day, I'll never forget it. I had, unbelievably, I don't know how, 10 goals that year, and he had 7 going into the last game. And we were training that week, and we were doing shooting practice, and he was hitting balls all over the place. And I remember I was saying to Sheila, "There's no way he can score 4." It's like, I have this. There's no way he can score 4. Go to the Kildare game then, and I just remember him getting 1 early, and then I remember 2, and then he got a 2, and I was like, fuck that, not giving them the ball at all. I tried not to give him the ball and everything, because we were up goals anyway. Then he got the third one, and then I was like, right, I have to score, or fourth one.
Take him off, Killer, take him off.
Got the fourth one. I think I was the only one not celebrating, but just. But still to this day, anytime he has sent me photos now. Every 6 months, he sends me a photo with a little trophy and everything, like, you know, it's that he got for top goal scorer. But he's gas. But I said I had to get that in from.
Yeah. What a man.
I'm going to have to go here. It's been brilliant talking to you all. Gally, Steph, I really putting this back on, and to all the lads, T, Trevor, Rolls, great lads, and the lads earlier on. It was a pleasure. And I said earlier on, I'm going to try and maybe get the group together, and I'm going to do it in hopefully 6 months to 9 months. COVID goes away. Try and even meet up for beer somewhere where we all meet up, because life is short. Life is short.
Yeah, 100%. We'll definitely.
Hang on, Giller. Cheers, Sepp.
We'll definitely get that organised, John.
Come on, talk to you soon. Take care.
Nice man. Appreciate it. Cheers, Giller.
Legend, get up. Well, look, I think we're getting close to the 2 hour mark here, lads. So we'll probably wrap it up. But before we wind down, apart from the game in Kildare, what and I just want to go through each of the ex-players. What was your best experience of your time with Dundalk? Steph, we'll start with you first.
Yeah, I suppose. Look, I had limited playing time. Just getting the train with the boys that we've already talked about, model pros, learning off them every day. But I suppose standout apart from Kildare that night would have been making my competitive debut in the league. I played League Cup games before that, but I come on down in Wexford. We were 1 or 2-0 up, and I think Robbie Farrell sort of done me a favour because I think there was 2 subs made and there was about 20 minutes left, and Giller turned around to Robbie and said, get warmed up. I'll throw you on for the last 20 minutes. I think it was 2-0. I think we were 2-0 up, and next off, Robbie Farrell looked at me and goes, "Get warmed up." And I goes, "Are you mad? He's after telling you that you're going on." He goes, "Fuck that! I'm gonna tell him I'm injured or something. I'm not fit to go on." So he I seen him chatting away to him, and fucking Giller was fucking angry at him. But next of all, Giller goes, "Go get warmed up. I'll get you on now in a few minutes." So look, that little things like that stand out in my memory, and I was proud to just come on the pitch and play a part in that season. It's fantastic. I suppose that's a standout memory for me, apart from the celebrations and the lily white after you won the cup that time. But yeah, look, it was an amazing season and so many memories. But that's a standout for me. Krulls, what do you think? What's your standout? Apart from the 10 goals you already mentioned to us.
Yeah, and Fardler's 11. I don't know. I suppose the Waterford game for me, it was with a massive crowd that night. We were 1-0 down, and I ended up getting the 2 goals that night. It's a real standout moment. The boys were misfiring up front, so I said to get them out of a hole. But no, I just remember the Waterford game was massive. It was packed. It was massive. I enjoyed that night. But listen, the whole season, there was so many games. It was so competitive. Playing in front of that crowd every home game was something rare. Playing League of Ireland. I mean, you look at it now, like, it was so consistent, wasn't it? They were always there for you.
Yeah.
And you know, they took us in greatly. Like, we were coming down from Dublin, and it could have been a thing they got sick of as well, because it was every year there was a few different lads coming and going. Like, but you just felt like you belonged there along with the group, and we'd be only repeating ourselves. Like, you know, everything was just right that year. You're trying to even think of some of the lads off the top of your head: Flano and Ado and Ben and Crawley and Trev and 2 Robbies. I mean, the experience around the place. Like, Steph, you would have got much more opportunities. T, you impacted the season great. Like, I mean, just looking at some of the goals that go up online, they're brilliant to see, like, from that year and stuff. Steph, you'd have had more of an opportunity had there not been such quality in your position. Like, you know,
Yeah.
But the whole year as a whole, and the group and the lads that even came on tonight, I mean, like, you'd pick up any of these lads, and that's why it will be great. And hopefully we do maybe Christmas time get a point, because we've all been in dressing rooms where you don't stay in touch with a lot of people. A lot of the time you haven't got time. But this sort of group, you know, it'd be nice to pick up with everybody again, 'cause everything was just so right, you know. Giller's boat, yeah. Rock the boat.
Yeah, nice one, Krulls. T, standout moment.
Well, that night will always go down as the most craziest, maddest, best night ever. Remember Mum and Dad coming on with Emma, me crying because we never got up, and then next fall turning into tears. But on a personal note, every time you score and you ran over, like Crowell says, the shed, every time you'd done that, it was the one place I wanted to go. It was, you used to dream about it the night before, no matter who you were playing against. Remember scoring against Shells after 11 seconds and the crowd still going mental, or scoring in the 89th minute and they're still going. No matter when you scored, the crowd were there, and it was unbelievable. And especially when it's friends and people you know, will never, no matter if it was that year or any year, once you score a goal and you went to the shed, it was a feeling that any kid growing up in Dundalk would want, anybody. And they'd live it over and over and over again. And I'd do it again in the morning. I'd love it.
I think they had to get a new badge on your jersey because you kept kissing it that much when you were scoring around.
That was the dream. I was living a dream where everybody else wanted to do it and I was doing it. I was just blessed. So that was it.
Class T. Memories you'll never forget. Trev, what's your standout?
I suppose, yeah, the Kildare stands out, but apart from that, I think, I don't know whether it was that year or the year before, I got a hat-trick down in Wexford, and the second goal was actually my 100th in the league, my 100th league goal. And I think it was only shortly before that someone had told me the stats or something, and I was close to it. I had no idea up to that. So that was sort of always in the back of my mind. So, yeah, down in Wexford, I remember getting the hat-trick, and I think the second goal I got was my 100th, which was obviously a big milestone. But, I mean, that's only on a personal level. I mean, it mightn't have meant as much afterwards if we hadn't won the league, you know, in Kildare. So that made it, as I said, for all of us. But, yeah, on a standout level, I suppose that sort of stands out now, you know.
Quality, Trev. I think that's the same game I come on in. The Wexford game.
Call me Thunder, Steph, there coming on and making
No chance. I think I nearly set Smithy up at the back post to make a 4-0 and he put it over the bar. But look, I won't let him forget about it. But I could have got an assist that night. But no, cracking to get 100 goals, a serious achievement.
Not many in that club.
No, definitely not.
When centre halves were real centre halves, Trev.
Yeah, yeah, it was hard. Well, as you said, the first division as well was tough. It was tough, you know, and you know, it's only when you look back and stuff. Even whatever medals everyone picked up, I mean, that's why we're all in it, and they come around sparsely. So, yeah, you just appreciate it more, you know.
Get the big arse in.
You always appreciate it even better. When you're playing, you just keep thinking you're going to keep playing. Crowds will probably tell you that. I mean, he was a good few years younger than me, so I knew I was finishing after that game. He had a few more years, and you never think, I wonder if this will be the only medal, because you want to just keep winning and winning. And it's only when you finish, when you look back and say, geez, that was brilliant. Like that year, as you say, the players around. And it's not just that we're talking now. I mean, I think everyone will say the same. We've all played in different dressing rooms, but that was something sort of special. And I think we did deserve it, like, you know.
Yeah, definitely. 100% agree with that. Benno, what do you think? What was your standout moment from that season?
I probably have to be obviously winning the league. I can remember the day before. I can remember the night before actually thinking, like, we're never going to do it. Like, you know, there's no way Shells are going to get beat against Limerick or draw. And then I can remember arriving into the ground, and then I think seeing all the fans. I didn't expect that many Dundalk fans had to come down, because I think the belief in that league leading up to that week for me, I was kind of deflated, thinking we've lost opportunity. You know, the few games leading up to it, and suddenly you're looking at the fans, and then I don't know, it's just a real moment when you win it. I obviously remember the Dundalk kind of escorted off the pitch, he thinking that the fans are going to attack him. I couldn't. He's just broken bollocks laughing. he's getting escorted off with 2 people thinking the fans are going to chase him, and it was actually just one promotion. So it was, I think, just a surreal moment. It's like, as I say, when I first signed, I think it was my 7th year at the club or whatever it was. So, like, to achieve that, like what we set out to achieve, it was, as I say, fantastic. And I retired winning the first division, and it was nowhere near the adrenaline rush that I got that night. So even in the game, the warm up, I was a bag of nerves for some reason. And looking back at the game, it's Farlow scored 4 goals, you say, Crowes, and we had to run riot. So that has to be the best.
Nervous because your mate was playing against you, probably. Philly was playing against you, was he?
Probably, yeah.
Well, when you mentioned the night, thinking about the match the night before, I thought you were going to say you had a few beers to settle your nerves.
No, I was a true professional, believe it or not, back then.
Yeah, no, look, you were the model professional, and you could, even when we were training up the other end of the pitch, you could hear you screaming at the other keepers.
You didn't know what he was saying, you could just hear him screaming.
No, nobody knew what he was saying, but it sounded great.
You're still on the Expressos, yeah?
I see a few takeaway points there, seeing his hand.
I think Flano just mentioned his favourite moment was carrying his wee fella out in Oriel Park for his last home game versus Kildare. So look, I think everyone has a little memory they can take away from it. It was a special season, and Jesus, it was just a privilege to be a part of it, even in the smaller little part, whatever we were all involved like.
Just as well you wouldn't carrying your kids out now, Steph. You wouldn't have enough arms.
I'd have to bring out a couple of wheelbarrows, get a couple of lads to give me a hand.
A few double buggies.
Yeah, a few double buggies. Yeah, look, lucky you had no kids back then, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, look, fantastic memories, and just I want to thank you on behalf of all the lads for coming on and sharing it with everyone. I hope everyone really enjoyed the episode, and it was great to get a catch up. And as Giller said, hopefully we can all meet up. I think I was sort of mentioning to him about sort of getting a charity match maybe against the cup winning team that Flano was involved in. So look, it could be something down the line. Trev, you might have to dust them boots off.
I'll get a loan of someone.
You'll have to get the scoring boots back. You have to. So look, no, really appreciate you coming on and having the chat about it. So it was fantastic.
Thanks, many lads.
Thanks, lads.
Yeah,
cheers, lads.
Appreciate it.
No worries, man.
Good to see you all, lads.
Cheers,
Yeah,
Good to see you, lads.
Hey, well. Cheers, boys.
Nice one, Trev.
Cheers, Trev.
Well, lads, that was unreal.
That
That's always some crap. My jaws, that's what I say to you, my jaws are absolutely, look at the laugh and my cheeks and my jaws are broke.
Some of the stories you could probably do a bumper episode and keep going for the whole night, but you know, some of the lads are just great people, as well as being unbelievably talented footballers. Like, they were all there for us, all the young lads especially, like being in the dressing room with them men at the time, and they didn't look down on anybody or look, he's not playing or whatever, and they didn't go easy on you in training either. Like, everyone was set a standard, and you had to match it.
Yeah,
it was just an unbelievable couple of years leading up to that final year was special. So it was absolutely amazing. So look, I think we better wrap this up, and I need to pick a winner, do I?
Yeah, you do, of course. So I'll just talk for a couple of minutes and I'll let you pick, Steph. You can cruise through. But no, look, I think it's great. As everybody said, and I think tonight, you know, the 2008 team never really got the credit they deserve for getting the club promoted back to the Premier Division, because of probably how that the last couple of weeks of games kind of went. And I think it's just one of the reasons we done this, and we might do it again with maybe other title winning teams, but one of the reasons we done this is just to pay a tribute to that group. And it's important that we remember that our history, as good at times as we've had over the last 10 years or so, we have to remember that the history of the club was before that. And I think it's very, very important that we acknowledge especially the 2008 team. So that was just that was brilliant. That was really, really good, because that that, you know, that team, and Gally, you'd probably agree with this. That was the team that made a lot of our supporters fall in love with Dundalk FC. You know, those nights and Thursdays where you'd have 2,500-3,000 people there, they were epic.
Yeah, I still remember. That's what I said. I wasn't down at the game, but I remember getting the phone call. I was my wife, my girlfriend at the time, she's my wife now, but we were just sitting in the house, and I think there was a kind of party on or something for someone's birthday, and I didn't even pay attention. I wasn't even listening to the game. There was an element I wasn't even listening because I just assumed that there's absolutely no way Limerick are going to turn this one around. Over, not a chance. And then the phone rang at about, I don't know what time it was, and I couldn't hear my father properly. And I had kind of almost went and hung up the phone because it was just one of them, like, how did they get away with that? It was one of them nights that I think, yeah, like you say, I think it brought a lot of people in. They kind of got the black and white flags out again. But then, as Giller and the boys were pointing out, it kind of, for people coming new to the club, I probably covered over the fact that these boys were gone, and you know what happened then subsequently with Sean Connor's era. That's all they that was really the start of them. You know, it wasn't a great baptism of fire for any fans coming in. But look, it's good to have that kind of get them lads talking, because a lot of boys won't remember that. A lot of people, you know, anybody, what are we talking, 2008, so we're talking 15 years, 14 years, anybody younger than that won't remember these boys. And look, it's nice they can go on YouTube now and Google away and look at the goals and look at the players and look at Steph up the town, and he's, you know, going into having a wee wander about town, go for coffee and that in town. You know, that's what it's all about. It's about keeping, like, you know, I don't remember Tommy Mack playing, so he's not in my, for instance, he wouldn't be in my 11 because I don't remember him playing. But we know about him because these are the stories we hear and people tell you, and that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I'm open to anybody buying me free coffees or whatever. So,
all right, Steph, we let you kind of pick the winner of the Townend thing. If you win, if you're the lucky winner, just get in touch with Carl O'Connor and he'll look after your prize at the 5.
Yeah, look, going through a couple of the comments and just seeing fantastic seeing some of the fans' memories as well, like Maxie falling over the wall in Derry. Look, Davy Lennon has the documentary. If anybody wants to check it out, I think we're going to drop the link for it if we haven't already. Go and check that out. It's crazy how it unfolded, and it worked out perfectly for him, I suppose. Like, so hopefully he gets a few hits on that. It's a quality piece of footage. But I'm going to go with Lee McConville, just talking about his memory going down to Waterford, his granddad taking him down and getting down to the game, and every like all the Dundalk fans, whenever they went anywhere, they never sat down. They just stood up and sang for the whole match from the warm up basically until the final whistle or even after it. Him talking about being on his granddad's shoulders and trying to sing along to the songs even though he didn't know the words. And like, look, I suppose he's a big massive fan now as well, so that sort of sparked his interest in it, and it follows on from one generation to the next. So look, I think he's a worthy winner of the Townend quarter zip. So just that stood out to me, and sort of, you know, my late uncle Paul Thornton brought me along to Oriel Park, got me a season ticket every year for Christmas, and that sort of got my love of the game, and I sort of just resonated with that. So look, I think he's a worthy winner.
Yep.
Very sought after top there. Very lucky.
It is.
Yeah,
well, no, look, we've gone on. I tried to get this under the 2:15, but I have to thank all our guests. So first of all, thanks to David Lennon for coming on as the guest host for the first hour of the show tonight. Thanks to John Gill, Aidan Lynch, John Flanagan, Tiernan Mulvena, Trevor Vaughan, David Crawley.
What a team.
I've gone black now. I've vexed now. Who was that? Paul Crowley. Chris Bennion for coming on. That was brilliant. If you enjoyed the show, you'd like to see us do it with other teams from the past, let us know, and we'll try to get a group of the players together to do it again. We'll be back next Friday. Thanks everybody for watching, and Steph, we let you have the last word as usual.
Look, it was a special night, but look, no fats, no party.